Welcome to the Eclectic Gamers Podcast. Today is Saturday, June 15th. This is episode 90, and it's our E3 extravaganza.
Oh, that makes it sound exciting.
I know. Being the E3 extravaganza, would that make it an E4?
E cubed. What have you multiplied E times E times E? What do you get?
An engineer?
Maybe. Or a physicist?
I don't like engineers.
Why?
They have no common sense.
Hmm.
You would think that if you're going to drain 1.25 million gallons of water that has solids in it, you would think to put more than 2 8-inch drains inside that entire tank and maybe slope something to one of the drains. You would think. That's too hard for engineers. They're just too dumb. So, but to the important stuff, because I can rant about engineers forever, it's E3. It's me, Tony.
Yeah.
It's you, Dennis.
That's right. I'm Dennis. Is it just us?
It's just us.
Oh, that's a change.
We have a live studio audience. That's what we're doing. No. We are joined, like we normally are on our E3 episodes, by guests.
That's right. And we'll have our guests introduce themselves so then people can identify their names with their voices. So we'll probably start with Eric because he's furthest from me.
As you said, I'm Eric.
And he's furthest from him.
And Eric's been on E3 episodes before.
I have.
Have you been on all of them?
I think so.
I think so.
I think so. Well, I know one who hasn't been on all the E3 episodes.
Yes, I'm Mike, and I'm back because I was on the first two, but last year I had family obligations I had to go to.
Family. Really?
And this year I couldn't get a quick ride to St. Louis for the Blues celebration, so I'm here.
Why couldn't you get it? I mean, if
We
you
know
go up
tons
to
of
Union
pinball
Station,
people down
you go to Union
that
Station,
way.
you get on the train, 15 hours later, you're in St. Louis.
Well, that would have been hard when I had to work this morning, so.
There's always
That's
some
what sick
excuse.
time's for.
Well, I already took off 2 days this week so I could watch E3 stuff, so.
Oh, that's whoa. I feel
Wow.
bad.
That's hardcore.
I didn't come off work. I went on a trip and did all this stuff. And
I went home and watched everything on YouTube at 2 times speed unless they got something to interest me.
I decided to rely mostly on written summaries because I ended up missing so much of the video content. And I didn't go back because I was like, nope, I got other stuff I have to do. So I guess, normally we go ahead and do introductions at this point, and then I don't have any planned pinball news to discuss. We'll just go right into E3. Eric, what's happened in the last year?
Well, as far as games go, I have played more Fortnite than I ever thought I would.
So sad.
That's
He's even flossing. He's sitting in a chair and flossing.
I'm flossing right now.
I'm
All that practice.
I'm gonna.
That's your intro,
Yeah.
Fortnite.
That's my intro.
Wow.
I am the Fortnite representative here.
Okay.
There's tons of news at E3 for that. Trust me.
Okay. I'm full of trust.
Yeah, other than that, I just have a tremendous backlog of everything. And I occasionally pluck away at it. Occasionally pluck away at Zachtronics games.
Wow. That's probably exactly what Nick Baldridge says every day he gets up.
Fortnite and Zachtronics?
Well, I know he hates Fortnite, but having a backlog and plucking away at stuff, that
Yeah.
sounds like him. They've already had their E3 episode come out on Gaming on 10.
Really?
They have. I used that as part of my training to know what to say for this one. So I'm going to sound real smart. All right. Next intro, Mike. So what's happened in the last 2 years?
Stuff. So, I have a backlog as well. Somehow I still haven't played Titanfall 2.
Oh, that was fun. Good story.
Yeah. I have RPGs that I bought on sale on PlayStation.
JRPGs?
Yeah. And I have not played them yet. So yeah, because new stuff always comes out and I'm always about the new and shiny.
Mm-hmm. Except when it's Titanfall, apparently.
I guess.
Or did you get that well after it was released?
I got that well after
Okay.
it released. Everything that is in my backlog is stuff that's like, oh, that's on sale, I'll buy it. Or, oh, I got that for Christmas or my birthday or something. And then
So it's
just
my
You
Steam
sound
library.
like Don from Gaming on 10. Always has to get a sale. Buy it.
Well, I didn't
That's my
even go
impression
into
of
my
Don.
movie backlog. When I got a
No,
stack of
no.
DVDs sitting in my room that's probably about 2-3 feet high.
We haven't started the Eclectic Movie Podcast yet. We feared to
It
do
would-
it because
it would
we know
be-
it'd be way more popular.
It would be so much fun, though.
It would be. But speaking of fun, what's happened for the last 2 weeks for you, Tony?
I bought a metal straw. I
Is that
actually
what
bought
that
an
is?
8-pack of metal straws so we
Okay.
can save the environment. My daughter wanted metal straws. I'm like, okay, sure, whatever. It's a cheap 8-pack. We'll buy them. It's
I'd
actually
worry
pretty
about.
cool.
I have this concern of chipping my teeth on those.
I understand because it scares me
Okay.
every time. On the other hand, really cold liquids through a metal straw feels weird. But yeah, no, I mean, I work until July. I don't have another day off this month.
Yeah.
So, yay. I've been playing Rule the Waves and it's gotten mimetic at my house. It has become a meme. My daughter walks by. She glances over when I'm playing it. She can now recognize enough of the UI to tell that I'm at war and who I'm at war with. And she's decided that France is terrible because they won't give me peace for more than like 8 months before they declare war on me again. I don't understand. I sink their entire navy. I kill like 40,000 of their people. They give me 6 months and then they declare war on me again. I don't know. I don't get it.
It's very different from reality, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Yes. Well, I have been working as well, so I have a big conference this upcoming week that will keep me busy. And then last week I was out for another, it was called a learning community. So I think I learned some stuff. I learned that I really don't care for travel, though the flight to Washington is only 2 hours and 10 minutes. So I forgot how quick it can be, but then I spent another 2 hours at the airport.
Of course.
So, Millipede is gone.
Yes.
I traded Millipede. That happened. That was almost set on our last episode.
You were trading
I hadn't
text
done it.
messages during the last
Yes.
episode.
So Millipede is
setting that
gone.
deal
Buck
up.
Rogers is now in instead. So I don't really have any more room in the garage until some stuff
But you
gets
said
rearranged.
that 3 machines ago.
I say a lot of things that may or may not be true. I just don't know. So anyway, I have finally, now that I'm back from the first trip and before I go to the second trip, today was work on pins day. So I've got like a lot of the parts that I've been ordering had arrived. Pretty much everything I've ordered is now installed on games. Pretty much. I still have a few pieces that I haven't done. And then I realized that I still needed more pieces. So of course, another order and all my clever planning to save on shipping is out the window.
Ruined it all.
It happens every game. It doesn't matter if it's 1 game or 6. I always need to do multiple orders. It's almost impossible to get it right the first time.
Have you tried a checklist?
I wrote them all out. It's just that eventually it's like, oh, you find
Did
out
you
something
use the
later.
checklist?
I did.
Oh.
No, I did the list. I check it all off. I feel really good every time I mark it down. I find the cheapest place, but then inevitably it's like, oh wait, this broke after I took it off, sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I did forget to put a couple of things on the list, but then I had other things that started to fail, some of which I caught in time and some I didn't. But enough of the finer things.
Yeah, let's go to stuff people actually care about.
That's right. They care about E3, and that's why we're here. So that's what we're going to talk about. Now, in terms of our notes, I have a listing of all of the shows, I'm air quoting, the shows that happened. Some of which we may not have any comments on because some of these I would never have identified as real shows to talk about anyway.
I
But-
didn't even know some of those happened.
I
But
didn't either.
we'll
They weren't
run-
on the official.
We're gonna run
Yeah.
through. We're gonna run through it. We're gonna do it chronologically, like we typically do, and then we will, like we tried to do last year, just talk about the things we want to talk about. We won't run through every single item, and maybe this one finally, thanks to there not being Activision and not being Sony, can be done in under 3 hours. Maybe
Maybe.
it's a dream I have. It's a dream. So speaking of something that I have no dream for, the Google Stadia.
Oh, we're going to talk
Connect.
about Stadia.
I know
I was going to make a joke, starting with Stadia.
we're going to start with
We're gonna talk
Stadia.
about
We are, which Eric, you're probably the only one who cares. I have a feeling. I know I don't
I did pre-order.
Of course you did.
because it's Google, so of course you
No,
did.
not because it's Google.
You
'cause it was
are-
$130.
You see, now he's like Nick again. Nick Baldridge again. Everything Google is blessed. Everything by everyone else is evil. Go on though. Tell us about how low bandwidth we need for this thing.
So according to their documents, it is, I believe, 25 on the low end and 35 on the high end. So 25 for or there might be a tier lower than 25 for 720p stereo, but I think it's 25 for 1080, 30, 5.1, and then 35 for 4K 60 with HDR and the full-on thing. So now I was in the Project Stream test beta, I don't know what to call it, the preview, if you will. And so I played around with it a little bit. They had it was set up for Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and it played fine. Now, to be fair, I'm on Google Fiber, so 35 is a distant memory. And at the same time, I also don't have a 4K TV, so, the high end of this doesn't mean anything to me significantly, but I think it's interesting technology. It does work. Like I said, I've seen it work, and the entry fee is low enough that it's worth trying. And worst case scenario, I end up with a Chromecast Ultra that I can watch videos on anyway.
And hope you don't have data caps.
I don't have data caps.
Yeah, that's the big thing. I mean, it seems like, okay, it's going to be good for, the few random people in the U.S. who actually have good internet. But for a lot of people, it's not even even the low end is beyond what
rural America is out entirely.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing is a lot of the major urban centers are out because most of the providers there have pretty hefty data caps where they won't charge you more, but they will cut your speeds to nothing when you cross them. So,
I also thought, ironically, one place where you would think it would be able to thrive because they have the infrastructure for it, Japan, it's not going to be available there right away, I heard.
I didn't see the full list of countries. But there's like a list of 14 countries that it's going to roll out to, but not initially. But that's typical for Google. They roll out for the US and then they slowly roll out for everywhere else.
Because you would think Japan and Korea would be like big major targets.
Yeah, I think the bandwidth capping is also an issue in Australia and in many European countries. So even if they have the bandwidth, the throttling issue, the capping issue is going to be a problem. So the bottom line is that this is a solution, but not to the right problem.
Right. Well, I mean, they can't fix fundamental problems that have nothing to do with them. And it's not as though Google is the only one going down this route either.
No, there's a lot of discussion at, I believe, the part of the Microsoft presser as well about their new cloud stuff. And I get it. That's a direction that companies want to go. I don't know. My takeaway was that Baldur's Gate 3, there was that. That was interesting. Everything else seems like a has-been game. I don't see a killer app for this, so I don't think it moves units.
Right. Well, and I think that's part of the reason why it was kind of a low-key thing is that they don't have that killer app yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not, at the same time, I'm not interested in rebuying all my games again.
You're not?
On yet another platform, especially considering that they're just PC games again.
Now,
let me connect
listen
my
to the
Steam
score.
library to this, and it's a game changer. Because I don't have a high-end PC.
Why not? Yeah.
You don't have the time.
Well, then, speaking of time, let's go ahead and transition over into EA Play then. And the reason why I think that it's important to transition in the context of time is that never before, I think, have we witnessed a company take 3 hours to speak about 6 games.
I did not see the EA Play one.
I watched part of it because there were a couple things I wanted to see.
You want
Jedi?
to see
Are they making a new Madden?
Yeah, apparently. I saw one thing about the Madden game, and that is apparently Patrick Mahomes is OP. Like, seriously OP in that game.
Is that just reality?
Well, yes.
That was my reaction to it.
But
we in Kansas City know, because we witnessed. He almost took the fact that we had no defense and still let it go all the way. But I'm assuming Jedi Fallen Order is the game you were really interested in.
Yes.
That's the game that I've not really seen negative response to either.
No, I mean, the only, I guess, downside that I've seen people comment about is it looks a lot like your standard action-adventure type game nowadays. You know, like your Tomb Raiders, your Uncharted, things like that. But it's like, that's not really a bad thing.
It reminded me when I saw it of what was those the Jedi games where you're the Sith
How
apprentice.
old?
The Force Unleashed.
Force Unleashed.
Okay.
Those were a little bit more extreme in how ridiculous they got with the Force powers.
Okay.
Well, you don't think just ripping a Star Destroyer out of orbit is normal?
Yeah.
Well, but that was counterweight. There was your Nerf lightsaber.
True. Well, then this one, at least from what I've seen, normal stormtroopers die in one hit. They don't dismember them, but I just assume that's because they didn't want a mature rating.
Well, yeah, which makes sense.
But, I mean, normal stormtroopers, one swing was taking them down.
As it should.
Yeah. And, I mean, they look like he had some interesting force powers, like the whole, like, you can, like, freeze someone in place for a bit. And I saw one little clip from the stream that they showed through the level. They showed him do that to someone while he was firing, and so the blaster bolt was stuck there, kind of like it was in The Force Awakens.
Mm-hmm.
But then he, like, force pulled the stormtrooper to him and moved him in front of the blaster bolt. Which just seems mean, but it was also very cool.
Why you shoot yourself? Why you shoot yourself? Why you shoot yourself?
Alternate dialogue. I'm sure you can unlock with a $5 payment into the Jedi Fallen loot crate. Apex Legends. I guess it had a new character.
Yeah,
Are people still playing Apex Legends?
Apparently they are.
They are. It dropped off pretty hard, but it's still maintaining in the profitable range.
Eric, did you flirt with Apex Legends and then go back to Fortnite in your 1 year summary of Fortnite?
No, I haven't played Apex Legends, nor have I played PUBG.
Okay. So you're very loyal to your Fortnite.
Again, we don't have the time.
We don't? Oh,
not if you want to keep this under 3 hours.
Okay. Okay.
Because that's a 3-hour discussion by itself.
Let's see. There's a new Sims game. Does anyone here care?
No.
Does anybody anywhere?
I have never played.
There's
Sims.
like
I used to
like-
work
like-
with someone.
like-
She
like
loves
there's-
The
yes,
Sims.
There's one person.
Yes, I've met
There's like
someone.
Aunt Jean somewhere who still loves The Sims, and it's the most important thing. It's the only thing that's a real game.
So is it like an actual Sims 5?
No, The Sims 4.
Yeah, it was just like more new content.
Yeah.
Okay, so just
They
more
go
content
to
for the Sims.
they go to
Yeah.
let's see.
Okay.
My summary information here says that they go to an island and it has cabanas and mermaids and something that's jet skis but not called jet skis, so they don't have to pay jet ski.
Right.
So there's that. Battlefield 5 new maps.
Yeah.
Battlefield 5 I've enjoyed. I've enjoyed it more than one, even though I really respected the idea of one. Battlefield 1's the one in World War I.
Right.
Battlefield 5's back in World War II.
Where it should be.
I've played it a bit. It's fun. I kind of prefer the modern ones more
Yeah.
at this point, but at least with World War II, you get weapon choices that make sense.
Yeah.
Like there's diversity.
The new maps look like they had a nice diverse set of maps. Some more infantry based, some more vehicle based. They got one coming out later in the year that's supposed to be basically the World War II version of Operation Metro, which is like, okay, I just hope it's not a big bottleneck like Metro was.
Oh, yes. He's referring to a Battlefield map, for those who might be thinking like Metro Exodus.
That would be
Metro,
really weird.
No, Battlefield 4, I think it was. Was it 4 or 3? Maybe 3.
I think it was 3.
It probably was 3. I think the name of the map was Metro 20.
It was Operation Metro.
Operation Metro. There
Yeah,
you go.
but it was like
And
everyone
it was
fought
a
over
subway.
B.
It was the Metro, like
Right.
in DC.
Just like the Metro.
Yes, and as much of a bottleneck as the real life Metro is. So,
Yeah. And they're supposed to be adding Pacific Theater stuff starting in the fall, I think.
That's cool.
okay,
I'm
so
still waiting for Battlefield the Zulu War. Everybody's got single shot trapdoors.
I'm sure that's maybe after Battlefront 12, that'll be what comes out. DICE is busy. So I guess now we can go ahead and transition to the first big presentation, which was the Microsoft presentation. Obviously, no Sony this year, no Activision this year. Sony being very notable as being one of the 3 big hardware players at this point. Does anyone want to start with a particular game or hardware? I mean, Microsoft was, I think their usual about 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Well, the first, I think it was the first thing they showed. What was it called? I'm looking through here. The Outer Worlds.
Yeah, the
or
very
something?
first thing they showed was the Outer World was an extended new Outer Worlds
Yeah.
trailer,
mhm.
which it looks awesome because, why wouldn't it be?
It's like Fallout, but in space.
Well, yeah, and it's because it's from
Obsidian.
and Fallout New Vegas is still my favorite of the modern Fallouts. So,
Yep.
I've got high hopes for that one.
That looked good. I have to admit, as impressed as I was with Forza Horizon 3 when they added the Hot Wheels, the Lego, I didn't expect. And then when they had the car, and I thought
got me. I thought it was a real car.
I thought it was
I
a real
did
car too. And then it's a Lego car.
I mean,
It's like,
They had a lot of smoke around that thing.
they did.
yes. But it was always a running joke for years that Microsoft always brings out some super hot sports car to promote whatever the latest Forza is.
Here's my actual notes on it. Hey, look, they brought out another car on stage. Hey, what? The car's Lego. What the hell?
Yeah. So that was fun. Forza Horizon 4 is a lot of fun. So
What little I played of it is very good.
So will I get this? I don't know. I ended up not buying the Hot Wheels one because I moved on to other games and didn't want to invest in DLC at that time. But a maybe. Cyberpunk 2077.
Of course.
Highlight of the conference for the attendees at least was the Keanu
Yeah.
going out there being John Wick with them.
He was being Keanu Reeves.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he was very charming.
Winning over
That's
the
what he
crowd,
does.
and they'd yell stuff out, and he'd yell stuff back to them,
Mhm.
all to announce a release date almost a year in the future. I thought it was going to be like really close. They
Oh,
was
I
playing
know.
up the whole. So let's get when this release date is. April. I'm like, okay, well,
It's less than a year.
yeah. But I mean, that was a lot of people that was game of the show for them last E3.
Mhm.
And it's Project Red. I get
Right.
it.
And they're gonna hopefully do it right. So
It looks good.
everything
I've
looked
liked
good. It's-
every game of theirs I have played. I feel has been better than the prior game, and I got in with them as of Witcher 2. So
And this screamed, everything about this trailer screamed Shadowrun to me, which for a Cyberpunk game is good.
yes,
That's good.
Yes.
That's a good thing. Because Shadowrun's amazing.
Yeah, no, they've definitely got the look right. My understanding is Keanu is not just playing some random person in there. He is playing Johnny Silverhand, I believe is the name.
Yeah.
Which is an actual named character in the Cyberpunk universe.
Okay.
Because so Cyberpunk they're adapting a tabletop role-playing game into this in a similar way that The Witcher is adapted from a Polish series of books.
Okay.
So it is not it's not an original IP for CD Projekt Red, but so Keanu Reeves is playing a specific character from that lore,
Okay. That makes sense.
which is a good fit from him. From what I understand, is that Johnny Silverhand is a rock and roll hacker.
Mm.
Rockin'.
I did hear that they've already had him record a significant amount of dialogue for that character. It sounds like it will have it be perhaps a major quest giver or something along those lines, so it's involved heavily in the story that you're playing.
Mhm.
So there's that. So obviously that was a highlight.
The new Minecraft Dungeons, which looks like
Minecraft
Zelda
Diablo.
Craft.
No,
I thought-
Minecraft Diablo.
Yeah,
You think so?
Diablo.
Yes, very much Minecraft Diablo. That's everything I've read or heard about it is. it's
Yeah,
Minecraft
I got
Diablo.
a loot crawler vibe from it. So.
Yeah,
I can
there's-
see
there's
that. That would
even,
make
like,
sense.
Every single weapon or item that you pick up has a little story with it and all that.
Aw.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Adorable.
Those are good games.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, I like
for,
loot.
for a lot of parents, it
games.
is literally, hey, look, another game I can play with my kids.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Perfectly fine.
What do you all think about Microsoft acquiring Double Fine?
I think it was.
I think it's a good fit. It is an interesting full circle because Microsoft was originally publishing Psychonauts 2. And then they bailed on it. And then Majesco picked it up. And then Majesco was acquired by a biotech company in order to acquire their NASDAQ symbol. And then, I'm not kidding. And Majesco's NASDAQ symbol, by the way, was cool. And then who was publishing Psychonauts 2 most recently? I think they were self-publishing, and funding through Fig. And now Microsoft has acquired them and are publishing it again.
That's right. And so, as you spoiled, Psychonauts 2 is a thing.
Yes.
Still, it's coming.
Oh, it's
We promise.
That's not news.
Does anyone care?
No.
Psychonauts is.
That was I was like,
Does anyone
I
at
know
this
the
table
name.
care?
but-
I've never played Psychonauts. I've heard good things
Yeah,
about it, but I've never played it. So I
same.
can't. I have played lots of Double Fine games. I like Double Fine
Mhm.
games. I can
Me
hope
too.
that this acquisition means that someday we'll see a Costume Quest 3.
Yes, I like. the
I would
Costume
really like
Quest
to see a
games.
Costume Quest 3.
Does this? I think if my math was right from last year, so Microsoft does now have more studios than Sony. Yes.
I think so.
I think in terms of numbers, yeah, especially when you consider
What other terms would there be?
Well, I mean, you.
I'm
you
just
could-
kidding. I'm exploring where are the other way we
qualitative
count
versus
that.
quantitative.
Okay.
So you may have been implying more
Triple A's.
yeah, more AAA
I see.
studios.
I see. Okay. Yeah, I
Because
don't
Double
know.
Fine doesn't exactly sit at the same level as like a Ninja Theory or a what's the studio that did Spider-Man?
Insomnia?
Yeah, which I don't know. Does Sony even own them?
I'm honestly not sure.
I don't think so because didn't they did that
They put
Sunset Overdrive was theirs.
Yeah.
Right, but at the
was.
time Sony didn't. But there may have been.
I just figured they just strike exclusive deals. They
Maybe.
struck a deal with Microsoft for Sunset and then they struck a deal with Sony for Spider-Man.
Yeah, that could be.
Which I have not played either. My understanding is both of those games are very good.
Yes.
But Sony came out on top with Spider-Man. with Spider-Man. Though I guess it's got a lot of the mechanics that made Sunset popular. Refined into the spider.
Right.
Instead.
Insomniac is a privately owned company.
There we go.
Oh no, we don't use the internet and cheat. We just have to will this. You'd think with 4 people someone would know.
I did. I looked it up. Thus I know.
Alright. Battletoads.
Just why?
I was really excited when I heard that music. I'm like, I know that's the pause music from Battletoads. And then they showed it and I'm like, that's not Battletoads.
That's dumb.
I mean,
It looks like
is, in a way.
Battletoad Crashers. That's what I thought.
Yeah, it has a very behemoth feel to
Yeah.
it, but not. It doesn't seem like
Battletoads
I don't like it as much as I like the game.
Battletoads has brawling mechanics, but it is not a brawler, which is what that was. Battletoads very much is a platformer race. It's everything.
they had the turbo tube thing or whatever.
Do you think that they didn't show enough of the gameplay and that stuff's actually in the game?
Maybe, but my problem is what they showed. I don't like the art style for one.
Yeah.
No,
It looks terrible. But what they showed, I mean, it looked like just your normal side-scrolling beat 'em up.
I'm going to delve back straight into my stream of consciousness notes because I was doing stream of consciousness notes taking while I was watching all of these for Battletoads. Is they're back for some reason. Honestly, I don't care. I remember playing this game, but I don't care.
I loved the original. I played it so much. It took me off and on playing that game for like a year to be able to finally beat it.
It's a game I don't think I ever cared to beat. It never caught me that hard.
Well, let's see.
I was thinking while we're talking about, since we're on something that nobody cares about and it's not important, do we really need Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition? Remastered for 4K? Really?
People really love that game.
Age of Empires is a pretty popular RTS, so I thought it was a smart move.
Well, I enjoyed the game, but the thing is there was a full remaster for that like 3 years ago, I thought.
I don't think it was a
I
full.
don't know.
I don't think it was full fledged.
Was
I think it was more of a.
Just to sort of run on
yeah, like
modern
no new
systems.
assets. Yeah, that kind of
It's
thing. It was more of a re-release than a remaster.
Right.
Well, what'd you think? I mean, in a blast from the past vibe as well, Microsoft Flight
Simulator.
Simulator.
That
Yeah.
I understand.
I do too. When was the last one? 2000, I think.
Yes. And people still
There was
play
the
that.
one free-to-play one that they had.
Yes,
Do you remember
there
that?
was that. It was a
released
Games for
that
Windows
and
Live.
an Age of Empires game
Right.
at the same time for Games for Windows Live. Though I think it might have also been released on Steam, but I could be confusing things.
That Age of Empires game wasn't like the Age of Empires 2. It was
That was my understanding.
really
It's the only one I've ever
simplistic.
played.
It's
Yeah.
really
Oh, really?
simplistic.
No, don't get me wrong.
I used to do custom maps and play
I loved Age of
Age
Empires,
of Empires 2 all the
I loved it. It's one of those games that looking back on it to me, it's like, do I want to play Warcraft 2? Not really. I mean, it was a fine game back then.
Yeah.
But not. I wouldn't really want to play it now.
I think both of these announcements are very much shoring up their lineup for Game Pass for PC.
Which would make sense.
Yeah. And at the price point they launched it at, that has seemed to have been received very well from what I have read.
I've considered it.
Hmm?
I've considered it.
Yeah.
I'm actually in a weird position where the Game Pass for PC is not of interest to me because I have 2 years paid up of Game Pass for Xbox. So I would have to pay $10 extra a month to get it. I can't just add the $5 like I could with the Game Pass Ultimate.
Right.
Plus I'm paid up a while for Xbox Live. So the $15 is a really good deal though.
Yeah. No, they're really trying to make it attractive. And so many of these Microsoft's published games coming out day one on it. That's what's driving a lot of people.
Yeah.
And that the price, especially we'll get to Ubisoft's price point later, but,
Yeah.
but the price makes it right. I mean, a lot of people say it's the best deal in gaming and nothing has changed
I would agree with that.
to usurp that title.
Yeah, no, I think that's a perfectly fair thing to say.
I mean, it makes games like Sea of Thieves and State of Decay 2 way more viable than they would be on their own.
Yes, I heard, man, someone may have been joking that with adding PC that there was probably a huge surge, or there was a huge surge in the Sea of Thieves player base already.
It could be.
So, any thoughts on Dragon Ball Z Kakarot?
Yay for Saiyan and Frieza Saga again.
Yeah.
That's everyone's favorite saga.
That was my whole thought when I watched it is if the actual engine, the actual gameplay is fun, it could be good, but I don't really care that much.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge Dragon Ball fan. I've got a shelf of Dragon Ball figures, but if that's all it is, I don't care that much.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, Bandai Namco showed a couple things, but the one thing that I was really excited about was the new Tales game.
I was going to bring that one up because I think that was one of the few things that probably really surprised people seeing it on the Microsoft stage.
Well, they didn't have a Sony stage.
Exactly. And that was to Microsoft's advantage for a lot of the AAA stuff.
But also just the fact that it's actually coming to Xbox.
It is.
Because, I mean, other than Tales of Vesperia, both versions of it, Microsoft hasn't gotten any Tales games.
Right. And the Tales games are, like, huge.
Yeah, I mean, they're not Final Fantasy huge, obviously, but
right. But
I look forward to the
are.
Tales games.
Yeah.
I don't really play Final Fantasy games.
I know people who don't like JRPGs but play Tales games.
I think it's because Tales really was a very action-oriented RPG before a lot of other JRPGs did it. That was always my takeaway.
Right.
Yeah, that's the reason I really got into it when I started playing them. But this one, they're finally moving to Unreal Engine 4. Which is good, because Tales games, I mean, they never looked bad, but they were never graphically impressive.
They had the best cinematics.
Well, yeah. But, I mean, you're getting one of the best studios in Japan to do them.
Yeah. Because, I mean, what was it? Was it? I think it was Vesperia, where your first, 45 minutes of gameplay was, 7.5 minutes of gameplay, and the rest of it was the cinematics.
That's a JRPG trope in general.
Well, yeah.
Oh, my God. So, yeah, it looked cool. It's been a while since, the last JRPG I played was Final Fantasy 15 in my case, but let's see, what else? Gears, they covered the Gears games.
No,
at least the pop and the main.
Right,
yeah.
the pop and the main game. Now, the main game thing started something that continued throughout E3 on every stage that actually got to the point where it was nauseating for me. How much money did people dump to get Terminator buy-ins to everything?
Yeah.
My Twitch ads lately have been the Terminator and Gears. That's what, when I was watching Overwatch League last night, bank of 8 ads, 3 of them are Terminator.
Right. It's everywhere. It got to the point where it was just like, okay, now it's like, I went from not being interested in Terminator, but hey, maybe I'll watch it when it comes out on video, to screw it at this point. I don't know. You don't deserve it.
But going back to Gears 5 for a second, one thing I think is odd that this game comes out in, I think, September, We
Yeah, the
really have not seen that much of it, though.
No, I thought there would be a lot more gameplay on and actually that would be probably one of my bigger criticisms of Microsoft. While they really stressed, and they did get through showing 60 games, they didn't provide much depth on any of them.
No.
And a lot of them were not gameplay footage.
No.
Nope.
There were
Lots
cinematics.
of cinematics.
And that's been a gripe of mine. That was a big complaint I had with Sony in the past, was a lot of cinematic stuff, like last year. And it's just like, no, I want to see, it should not be just a train of trailers. That's what the Game Awards show is. A train of trailers within awards no one cares about. A little bit more, like what, the PC Gaming Show apparently did. A lot of Q&A would have been appreciated, at least for a couple of the big
Yeah,
things.
because, I mean, usually, at least for things like Forza, they always have gameplay.
Right. And
And
Now,
because I remember
usually-
when Forza 4 came, when they made the Forza 4, the big Forza 4 I think was last year. They showed like 7 or 8 minutes of like multiplayer gameplay.
Yeah.
And
Now, I do like it when they show like recorded gameplay. You don't need to bring someone out on stage to live play it in a scripted.
Yeah.
The only instance they did of that was to show off that cloud tech.
the Project X Cloud.
Yes, which I didn't like because I didn't understand anything they were saying. It felt like they had a lot of buzzwords that sounded really good about how their code would do code stuff, and it was going to be Cody, and then look at how great it was streaming to her phone. And I have no context of the bandwidth in that facility. I have no context of how this is supposed to be like backwards compatible with a bunch of software and work with other services. But I guess Google's thing is going to work with it. I guess no, I don't know. No,
not my
Google's
understanding
not.
that
No,
there's
you're thinking of the Bethesda's.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's the one. Okay, sorry, I jumped.
Oh,
again.
yeah. You're talking about Orion.
Oh, right.
Yeah, okay,
we'll
yeah.
get to-
I'm like-
sorry,
I was
yeah.
confused because I didn't remember that part of the
Now
Microsoft.
Microsoft's thing is going to benefit Sony because they're entering that MOU with them to start using xCloud to drive their streaming. I thought.
I didn't think it was that Sony's using xCloud. I thought Sony was just agreeing to use Azure.
Okay, maybe.
So Azure is Microsoft's cloud platform.
Apparently, I don't know anything about the cloud stuff.
It is needlessly
They're fluffy.
confusing.
Clouds are fluffy.
I guess. So whatever. I mean, it's one of those things, all this cloud streaming stuff I like on paper, around, again, no caps around here. We don't have exclusive franchises in the Kansas City area for internet. So a lot of this stuff will work here. I don't know
Right.
if it works anywhere else. I think the only other big thing then, Halo ties to this, of course, is the Project Scarlet, because Halo, as I did predict on our last episode, it is a launch title for the new Xbox.
Which
I think
makes
that was
sense.
only logical. I was wrong though. They are yet again targeting a holiday 2020, whereas I thought maybe
I was
they'd try
surprised.
and put it out earlier in the year like Nintendo did with their Switch.
Hmm.
Because I've been assuming that Sony's PS5 will also be holiday 2020.
Right.
Given that all the leaked stats I'm seeing say that these machines are basically the same machine.
Well,
Thoughts
It's
on
similar.
project? I mean, I haven't sat down and done a really close comparison. Some of this stuff, again, it was like, why are they talking about 120 FPS and 8K resolution capabilities?
right.
You don't even
So
have
the-
50% household uptake on 4K yet.
Right.
People
So
are still buying DVDs nowadays more than they do Blu-rays.
Mm-hmm.
I think the key takeaway from that is that they said it is 4 times as powerful as the Xbox One X.
Yeah.
So was that what they meant by current gen?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, they were specifically
They
talking about the
specifically
Xbox
said
One X,
the
and
One
it is 4
X,
times as
yeah.
powerful as that.
Okay.
So however many teraflops that the Xbox One X is
I think it was
capable of-
4 teraflops Xbox
Quadruple
One
that.
X. Okay, 8 quadruple.
Yeah, quadruple
16 teraflops.
that. Right.
That's a lot of flop.
That is many floating operations. So, yeah, it was a lot of buzzwords.
I thought they'd
And-
show a little something with it other than just
Right,
people
they showed
talking
one
about
scene
how
of
they
like some
look.
deer, and then
Yeah.
they showed Halo 5, and neither
Right.
of those are particularly compelling. But at the same time, it's hard to make a case for something like that, because you can't even make a case for HDR on a stream
Exactly.
that people are going to be watching on their phone, or they're going to be watching on their television, which doesn't have that capability. So it's really hard to show off that kind of stuff. So I think the only real takeaway you can, well, So the 4 times thing, and then both they and Sony are getting in front of, we want to kill load times.
Right. Right.
Which their
I
solution
think
to that seems to be
I think
an
that
SSD.
talk was good.
Right.
I think that
Which-
talk was good.
They seem to have like an idea of something that is an SSD, but something more.
Well, it sounded like they were basically going to use the SSD as like RAM.
Virtual
Which
RAM
doesn't make
Okay.
any sense because an SSD is way slower than RAM.
Yeah, I
So there was that statement, and then there was another statement where someone said the SSD and the solid state drive.
Yeah,
as though they
I-
were 2 separate things, which
I heard
that's what
that.
SSD stands for.
Right. I mean,
Interesting.
virtual. Given the price of RAM, I would think why not just put in more RAM if that's what you want.
Well, an SSD is way cheaper than RAM.
And maybe that's the. I mean, using virtual RAM on an SSD is a lot faster than the old days when we were doing virtual RAM on hard drives.
Right.
So I mean, there will be an improvement compared to the current generation
Right.
for if they're currently doing that with the hard drive space for
And
some of their loads.
They might be talking about something similar to Intel has a technology called Optane that is kind of halfway between an SSD and RAM. They tend to be very small in the I want to say 30 gigabyte range,
Okay.
but it is faster than an SSD but slower than RAM. So there may be something that they're positioning in there. Obviously, they're not using Intel Tech because they are
AMD.
partnering with AMD.
Yes.
So the reason I bristled a little bit about you saying that the hardware is the same as the PS5 or whatever that Sony ends up calling that is that they specifically made the statement that they co-developed this processor with AMD.
And that surprised me because I had originally heard that they were using the same processors.
Right. So
So maybe that was not a true. Again, a lot of these were purported leaks.
Right.
And
Yeah.
So
it will be interesting to see what actual CPU the PS5 is relying on because I did think they were going to be identical, both by AMD, both the same chip, a slight variant off of a common PC.
yeah, I think
chip
they're
type.
both Zen 2 architecture and Navi, which I think is the
Hey,
GPU.
listen!
No, not that Navi. I think it's actually named after the
Avatar stuff.
Yeah.
Mine was
So
funny.
it might actually be Navi.
Well, I guess Navi was Navi. Well, no, I guess maybe we never actually heard her name said, so I don't know. Anyway, any disappointments or things
No.
to add? Tony's like, there's lots of disappointments
So
with
many
this
disappointments.
console trash.
But no, there were 1, 2, 3 things that I actually was interested in that I wanted to touch real quick in Microsoft. One was the 12 minutes. That kind
I wanna
of
talk about that as well.
Groundhog's Day-ish little thriller murder thing. It looked pretty cool.
It looked cooler to me than the Groundhog Day game that Bethesda's working on.
Yes,
I
it
thought
looked
that was
a
way
Sony thing.
cooler than that.
I thought that was a Sony thing.
No, it's
But-
Is it a Bethesda studio that's working?
yes.
Yeah, that was on the Bethesda stage.
Wow.
But normally I don't like Groundhog's Day concepts, so I don't know it would be my sort of game.
Right, I don't know, but it looked interesting.
It did because of the sort of mystery aspect that you're trying to-
Exactly.
So yes, that's a good one to point out.
There is at Giant Bomb about 2 years ago, they sat down with the developer of that and went over that game. And it looks very different in this new trailer, but if you want to get kind of a better feel for the concept of it, it's pretty interesting in that, the 12 minutes refers to the time loop. It is a 12-minute time loop. It's not like a whole day kind of thing. And that through gameplay, you can learn things. So that trailer didn't do a great job of showing that. Like they kind of hinted at it by him saying, you already gave me this gift kind of thing. So it was a really fascinating game when they showed it off like 2 years ago. And then it just sort of dropped off the radar. And so I'm excited to see it come out because it looked really interesting back then.
Okay. Tony, you had another game you wanted to discuss.
They're bringing Phantasy Star Online with all content, free to play in spring.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up because I remember they started showing the trailer for that and I'm like, oh, it's like Phantasy Star Online 2,
That
but
was-
surely it's not.
That was my thought as well.
Weren't they supposed to do that years ago?
Sega has had that out in Japan since 2010,
Something like that. It's been
and they announced
forever.
it for a U.S. release, but then it never happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were ways to play it that involved modded versions of the
Yeah.
client, and there is a English version of it that was released in some other territory, and it was, yeah, it was a thing. But also notable about that is that it specifically mentions Azure in that trailer. So maybe they made some sort of a deal to host it on that, but it didn't say xCloud, so I doubt they're planning on streaming it, but that would be another option.
Well, I think the Switch version in Japan is streamed.
Right. Yeah, I had heard something about that as well.
But I think that Phil Spencer also said it will be coming to other things as well. So
it's not.
it's launching on Xbox, but then it's supposed to it's coming out on PC, and it sounds like it will eventually hit PS4. As well.
It'll be on your phone.
So a little
it'll be
bit
on
of
your
a
left ear.
Timed exclusive.
Yeah.
Typical for Microsoft.
And the last thing that I really wanted to touch on was Elden Ring. Don't really know anything about it. I didn't think the trailer showed anything other. The only important thing about it is who's working on it. It's Hidetaka Miyazaki, who is known for, Dark Souls and Armored Core and this and that.
Bloodborne.
Yeah, Bloodborne, Dark Souls game and all that. And George R.R. Martin.
Yeah, when I was seeing it, at first I thought it was another Lord of the Rings game. Forging a ring and everything.
It's literally about a ring.
Yeah, I think Martin was borrowing a little close from the source material there.
I'll go ahead and give you a warning, Dennis. Go ahead and grab your pad to write down a timestamp.
Oh my gosh.
Go on Stream of Conscious again. Put out the next book. But whatever. It works. My only thing that I really want from this game is I want there to be 50 main characters and 3 survive. That'll make it feel real to me.
It's not real clear how involved George R. R. Martin
I don't
is in
know.
this.
It could be
he
one of
could
the...
have sat down and had a meeting with them and been like, well, wouldn't it be nice if your world had this thing in it?
This full-on could be the Tom Clancy thing, where this is George R.R. Martin's Elden Ring. It's Tom Clancy's taco drive-through simulator. I mean, that's full-on what it could be at this point. But it could be interesting. I like the Armored Core games. I don't really care for Dark Souls that much, but I always liked Armored Core games, so we'll see. There's nothing wrong with the Dark Souls games. They're just not my cup of tea.
It may not be exactly what those were, which, very atmospheric, moody, difficult to navigate, and then poorly programmed, so it's hard. And they act like it was a big challenge for them to make it. Overrated. Very overrated.
Yeah.
But they look great. There's a lot about Dark Souls I liked, and a lot, unfortunately, that made it not fun. I was disappointed only in that I really, really thought that Microsoft would at least tease a new Fable game. It's been long enough. All the sources I'm seeing are that Playground second team is doing Fable.
Right.
So,
That's
and
what
they've been
I've
at it long enough that they should have at least been able to, leak the name. I mean, I don't know.
They were too busy. They were too busy dropping the Blair Witch Project.
Oh gosh! Actually, when I was seeing the game, I thought the gameplay looked interesting. I like horror games though, but then I saw Blair Witch, and I remember going to the theater and how motion sick that made me. And I thought maybe I'd just throw up. I better not play this, which was unfortunate because I didn't like the Blair Witch because I had to keep my eyes shut the last 30 minutes because I was so nauseous. I couldn't watch the rest of the movie.
You didn't miss anything.
Yeah, it happened to Cloverfield too. I just couldn't. You have to tell me.
Cloverfield was good.
You have to tell me ahead of time. I have to take Dramamine to do those things. Anything else on Microsoft?
Couple 3 things I wanted to mention. Spiritfarer, which I thought looked really interesting and twee. And yeah, there's a lot of hugging in that trailer.
Yeah, that's the one where I was just super cute with dark overtones.
Yeah,
I
Way
don't
of the
even remember.
Woods was the other one that I thought was really interesting looking, and that's the one with the 2 deer.
You have a type. You very much have a type.
I just thought it looked
Like
really...
Ori and the Will of the Creepy. That's
Yeah,
like your thing.
I have played the first Ori game. I haven't played far enough into it to really get a feel for like would I want to play another one of those, but I enjoyed the time I had with it. But it is, there is a certain style to those. Though I would argue that Way to the Woods is a very different style than now I've forgotten the name of that other one. Spiritfarer.
Yes. No, their art styles are very different, obviously, and it looked like they had a different feel to them, but they to me they still fall into the same kind of archetype.
Yeah, no, they're very indie looking.
Yeah.
I guess would be fair.
The indie archetype.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What did you think of Bleeding Edge?
It
That
cut me.
action game from Ninja Theory.
It cut me.
Looked a lot like a hero shooter to me.
That was
A melee hero shooter.
Yeah.
Some of them
Yeah.
had guns.
It looked like it could be fun. I don't know.
It did look like when they sat down with the character designer, they were like, we need our guys to be as hardcore as possible.
Well,
I need to take my hardcore guy, but make him, hardcore, because this guy's just not hardcore enough.
Also, it feels a bit like it's got a similar art style to Borderlands and
Yeah.
Rage.
at first, I actually
that
thought
kind
maybe
of-
it was Borderlands
Yeah.
when I saw the footage.
There's some brand confusion there that I'm not thrilled with.
Yeah.
And it also has another thing like the Terminator thing that I kind of just kept putting into my notes constantly again is esports bait and streaming bait.
Probably, yeah.
But again,
I mean, it's like they looked at Overwatch and like, okay, let's do something like that, but we'll make it melee so it's different. And we'll take the character designs and we won't turn them up to 11. We'll turn them up to like 20.
This one goes all the way to 20.
since it's published by Microsoft, it's part of Game Pass.
Yep.
So it's worth noting that they showed off 60 games, 14 of them were from Xbox Game Studios, and 34 of them will be on Game Pass. That's
That's
not
a
nothing.
lot of, yeah.
So, I literally have in my table here a checkbox for whether or not this game is coming on Game Pass. So for a lot of these, I will get to try them out if I feel like it. Because I'm already paid up.
If you feel like it.
If I feel like it.
And have the time.
Right.
And the energy.
Yeah.
That's
And
why
the desire.
That's why I don't have Game Pass, because I have a backlog already. I don't
Yeah.
need
Yeah, but they
this.
put it on sale and it's $5 a month and it's like $60 a year. That's one game. As long as I play 2 games, I'm ahead, right?
Yeah, but it's on sale all the time, so there's never.
It's always on sale.
It's always on. It's always going to be $1 for the first month for people,
But
And
only
so-
for new. That's only for new people.
Exactly. But
Right.
that's why I don't. I'm in the similar boat as Mike. I don't. I've got other games I still haven't. I haven't finished Red Dead 2. I haven't
I've got
finished
so many games.
Metro.
I've got so many games that I've just started
And
or
so-
not this and that. And it's not that I don't like them. It's just sometimes I come home and it's like this game will take too much energy.
Yeah.
I'm going to do this
No, it's
thing
the same. It's
where
the
I
same.
can, type some buttons and stare at my Excel spreadsheet for my Excel game for like 3 hours while I tweak everything and then just walk away from it.
I actually play very few games a year, and it's been that way for years. In
Yeah.
fact, I think it's been that way for a very long time for me.
And here's the thing. 100% honesty here. The games I'm playing, the games I'm most interested to play, and the games that I spend the most time on. Battletech, which is a nostalgia hit for me, but it's also been out for a year now, and I still play it probably more than almost anything else. Rule the Waves 2, which is just the Rule the Waves, which I've been playing for years and years and years and years, except for now they're aircraft carriers, and Cold Waters. That is 90% of my gaming. And I've got a stack of PS4 games, and I pull them out every once in a while, and I'll keep working on one. But sometimes I'm just like, I'm just gonna go, because all those other games I listed, I can stand up and walk away at any time.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter.
But I think the moral of the conference was Microsoft should try and get Keanu Reeves every year just for the crowd reaction.
Yeah, that worked really well.
One interesting thing about that conference is that it felt very 2006.
Mm.
Like there was pyrotechnics, fog, they had a car on stage, they brought out a celebrity.
Yeah.
They checked all the boxes.
It's like Phil Spencer seemed to have wanted to do an old school E3
Very
presentation.
much so.
In fact, he tweeted later that he was sad that Activision and Sony weren't there because he thought it would have made the show better. And I mean, yeah, this is a weird E3, but I don't know if we're ever going back. I think maybe they'll all be weird now until it's dead.
Until it's
Stay
gone.
weird.
Until it's gone.
Which
Stay
ain't
weird.
going to be
Yeah,
forever.
sure. So, anything else on Microsoft?
I'm done.
The other interesting thing for me was the Elite Controller Series 2.
Yeah. And then I looked
am
up the
genuinely
price.
interested in that. The only possible saving grace for me, and the only reason I might consider purchasing one, because I have the original Elite controller, full disclosure, and I really like it, is that there are at least speculation that controllers will work with Scarlet.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
if, because I'm even on the edge of, do I even want to consider getting like an Xbox One X, assuming I also get a 4K TV, or do I just want to wait for Scarlet? And if I'm just waiting for Scarlet, do I really need a new controller if it's not going to be good for the next one? But if it's
Right.
good for it,
Now,
then that makes
it's a
that
good-
makes it
it's
a
a
different
good
proposition
factor.
entirely.
I mean, when I got my 4K TV, I still wasn't going to go to an X. I was going to wait for the Scarlet until I got robbed.
Right.
And then it was like, okay,
Yeah,
well,
no,
I
the
might as
decision was
well
made for
now.
you.
Yeah.
But, yeah, same. I don't want a controller for, just over a year. I mean, yeah, I'll probably move the One X into my room or something to use.
But it's $150.
Exactly.
controller.
No, it's
And-
$180.
180.
180.
No,
Yeah.
150 is like the Series 1
Yeah, the
price.
Series 1 was $150.
This is more.
Which
Because
Oh,
the
is
Series
part of
2.
a console deal.
Because
Yeah,
Which costs me
180.
slightly
It's got
less.
twice the teraflop in it.
The trigger locks are slightly different.
The trigger locks are
You can have
floppier.
3 profiles instead of 2, which isn't that big of a deal.
I would
The
need more
big
than
thing
one.
for some people is the adjustable tension thumbsticks.
Oh, it looked great. Everything about it, I thought I might be able to wall run as Lucio now. That's what I use to judge all Elite controllers. Because on
it's so easy.
PC it is. On console it's very, very
So
difficult.
you're right. It's so easy on PC where first-person shooters are designed to be played.
Yes, but most people play on console. So play games on console. I don't know if most people play Overwatch on console, but most people play games on consoles. Speaking of consoles, let's console ourselves by finally moving on to the Bethesda E3 press conference.
Which can be summed up with, we're sorry.
I'm sorry.
That covers a good part of it, yeah.
I thought it was really smart of them to acknowledge the issues that people had with Fallout 76. I thought that it was wise that they chose to acknowledge it in the way of apology. What I think was the mistake is doing it more than once.
Yes.
And so I want to quote from an article I saw on Game Crate where they said for their summary of this show, quote, "Oh my God, we are so sorry for Fallout 76 and everything else we ever did. And we thank you gamers for pointing out how bad we are. Please play our games. And also here are a few new reveals." There's a fine line between being nice and coming across as pandering, and they stepped over that line. But to their credit, no live band this year.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, because last year was awful. Absolutely awful. This was a better Bethesda conference than last year just because of that.
Yes, though interestingly, the audience for this year's Bethesda conference would have been a better fit for the live concert. Last year's audience was not having it.
No.
Oh my God.
This year's had way too, the hype guy, someone needed to walk out into and I don't normally condone violence, but someone needed to slap the taste out of that guy's mouth. He was like in every room, but he was really loud at Bethesda. Also, another thing to credit to Bethesda, I think there was only one developer, like one of the engine, it might have been when they were talking about their streaming service, who put in that one forced profanity. It's like on the Bethesda stage, they're like, we have to be edgy, so be sure to insert some 4-letter words just sporadically, and that's how you bond with gamers. But it feels fake. It feels like they don't talk like that normally.
It doesn't feel like they threw the word in. It felt like the writer wrote it down and
Yes.
it's on the teleprompter.
Like in italics. And
Yeah.
so they're trying to, and there's just one that I picked up on that entire time, and I was just like, it was less. So I approved of that. Do we want to?
I was saying because of Bethesda, what they had, I thought maybe we could, the best thing to do is just have each of us pick one thing that was the highlight of the Bethesda for us. And see what everyone else thinks. And see if we all pick the same thing.
Okay. Do you want to start with each of us naming the thing?
Yeah, just name the thing that interested you
Doom
the most.
Eternal. Doom Eternal.
Mike?
Well, I would also say Doom Eternal, but I would also say Ikumi Nakamura.
The internet?
Yes.
Loves her. The only thing from all of E3 that I've seen any more hype about than how awesome she is was Kiana. That was it.
No, when she was up there, I think I actually said, I cannot stand how adorable she is.
I know. She was the only person in the entire Bethesda conference and one of the very few people presenting from any of the conferences I saw who I thought actually cared.
Actually, she felt that's a word to be used would be authentic.
Yeah, that's it.
She actually seemed truly nervous to be on stage, but excited about her game so much that she was just overflowing with cuteness.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how did you see it?
Yes, I saw that
Okay.
part. Yes. No, dude.
And her game looks
her
really
move-
interesting to me, despite not having any gameplay.
Yes.
Yes.
So she was the art director on Okami
And Bayonetta.
Mhm.
and Bayonetta. Yes, I couldn't remember that one at first, but yes. So yeah, she definitely has some bona fides.
Yeah,
as
she's
well
got
as
cred. She's not somebody who was just thrown up there because, hey, we need a female on stage to round out our thing that we've seen in the past.
Right. I'm just referring to the art style for this game is significant.
Mhm.
So yeah, no, that game looks cool. But
What's your
my only
highlight?
thing that I really care about from Bethesda is Wolfenstein.
Cyberpilot?
No.
You
I don't have a way to play Cyberpilot. I
Maybe-
would play it if I had a way
Maybe
to play
you should
it.
be more specific then.
Yeah. I can't remember.
Youngblood.
Youngblood, that's what it's called. Yeah. I on one part, I'm excited about that game. On the other part, I don't think I'm going to have someone to play co-op with. So, you know,
Yeah.
the
You don't
key
have
is
any
time.
friends.
Yes.
Nobody
Start.
likes you, precious.
She can play Wolfenstein. She's
Oh.
she's in school.
There,
That's
Yeah.
old
there's
enough,
a
isn't
long
it?
conversation that needs to happen there.
What are Nazis?
You have a lot of long
we have talked about
conversations.
Nazis.
Oh, okay.
We have talked about Nazis.
What are cyber dogs and why are they mean?
Yeah. So
Okay, so you
So-
pick Youngblood.
yeah, Youngblood is probably the game from Bethesda I'm most interested in.
Tony.
Well, I was gonna go with Doom Eternal.
Well, I
I
mean,
think it
it
was
was
the
their
only thing that
tentpole game that they built. Clearly, that's why they
Yeah.
held it to the
Yeah.
end. Everyone knew going in. There were no surprises, in my view,
No.
about Bethesda.
Well, there was a surprise. I was surprised. Maybe other people weren't. They brought back Commander Keen.
Did they, though? Did they? According to
No.
the internet, they didn't.
They brought back the IP. Let's go with that. Because it sure isn't the original. But the fact that they even brought back the IP is something that surprised me.
They also named it wrong. There are two of them.
So it'd be Commander.
It should be Commander's Keen, which I think is a far more clever title anyway.
Oh, hey, look, speaking of Nazis, there's the grammar Nazi.
Thank you.
Oh, the audience could not see Tony actually reach over and pantomime picking up the box and handing it to him. I mean, I thought
I'm not excited for it. I'm not going to play it. I just thought it was
Yeah.
It
interesting.
looks kind of like a free-to-play puzzle game.
That's kind of how
Yeah.
it felt.
It
Yeah.
doesn't really look like a platformer.
No.
So
I think it's fine. It's nice to see that old of IP coming back,
Yeah.
even if it's.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think people should be as salty about it as they were with last year's E3. What was it with Command and Conquer, and it was a mobile game.
Yeah.
And people are just like, not only am I watching an abomination, I now know that Command and Conquer is dead as a franchise because this will never let it come back as what it once was. This doesn't impact
No.
Commander Keen, and Commander Keen in its old form will probably never come back anyways.
No, it wouldn't.
Whatever. They can do what they want with it. Yeah, I mean, and to be fair, when I mentioned the, no surprises, I didn't really know anything about Ghostwire. I still don't really know anything about Ghostwire other than it's that sort of creepy game that falls into my wheelhouse.
Yeah, and that I'm gonna be doing this a lot. Is referring back to my notes is just it was just spooky and the Rapture ?
Mm-hmm.
Because it was just people vanishing randomly. The concept was enough to bring my interest up higher than I honestly thought my interest would be for anything in Bethesda except for Doom.
Yeah.
Because I didn't expect anything but just normal Bethesda stuff.
But Doom looks good.
Yes, Doom looks good. But nobody's surprised by Doom looking good.
No.
Well, and so for the Ghostwire, Shinji Mikami is behind that game. And so he has done, as I've pulled up. Mikami, sorry.
Shinji Mikami.
Thank you for the correction. So I guess a lot of people know him for Resident Evil games, but I know him for the 2 Evil Within games that Bethesda has published.
Yeah.
And I liked both of those games. The first one was better. More of a Resident Evil closed, very claustrophobic vibe, whereas the second one is almost open world in the way it approaches it. But they're very scary, and they're fun to play. And those reasons are why I'm willing to put faith in Ghostwire, even though I didn't get to see any gameplay.
Right.
So far, obviously. It doesn't have my dollar yet.
Yeah.
But, so that would be the closest thing to a surprise. But the thing with Doom Eternal is that it's everything that, it's just more Doom.
And that's
isn't that what everyone wanted?
Now, I am interested in the multiplayer battle mode that they were talking about, where it's.
I never played the first.
I didn't either. I didn't do any of that. But the whole thing with, hey, look, you're demons, you spawn more demons, and somebody's the Doom Slayer.
It reminded me of what was it? Evolve?
Evolve.
Or one of the modes in Left 4 Dead.
Which Evolve flopped really bad. So I just, but that was what I thought.
Really bad, not because it was a bad game, but because they really, really, really were trying to make it esports.
Yep.
And so they spent a ton of money on that, and
it didn't take off.
Game, yeah. It was light on content at launch. There were lots of problems. But my understanding is Evolve was fun to play. There just wasn't much there.
Mm-hmm. In terms of Wolfenstein, I don't have any thoughts on the cyber pilot thing.
No, who cares?
Yeah. But, Youngblood, yeah, it looked fun. It looked like the two, sisters have different capabilities in terms of attacks. So that looked like an interesting change. I know last year there seemed to be a lot of backlash and the concern that it's a spin-off. People want to play as BJ Backowitz. They don't want to play as his kids. But I think it's still got all the like Doom Eternal. I think it's got all the pieces that has made the first 2 rebooted Wolfensteins popular. Yeah. So I don't see why it would be bad. If it hits the
right beats, there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, no, to me, it's not that I am disappointed that this is the game and it doesn't have the character I want to play, because that part isn't the interesting part about the Wolfenstein games to me. My concern is there's like a 20-year gap now in the stories. So are they going to cover that, or is there still going to be a game to wrap that up? Because that's the part I'm interested in.
Okay.
There's no reason they couldn't be more going back. I mean,
right. But when they debuted it last year, it felt like they were announcing a spin-off. That they haven't announced another game makes this feel like this is the actual sequel.
Okay.
Which is okay. It could be. Again, it will probably be a great game. The first 2 were fantastic. But again, I want my story.
Hmm? No, that's
and
maybe
they'll fill in the blanks in the game. It's just they haven't presented it as that yet. They presented it as it's the 1980s. We got to go find him.
Yeah, you gotta find him. Speaking of finding things, how did you find the Orion streaming technology? I obviously got it mixed up with xCloud streaming technology and Google streaming technology, so I don't know what to think anymore.
Cynically, how I interpreted that presentation was, we have this idea, we are patenting this idea, we are going to use this idea to club the rest of the industry into submission.
I just don't understand why it was on the stage. Like, there was no proof of concept or anything.
Everybody has to have a cloud strategy.
Okay. Well, I don't know if it needs to be on the E3 stage.
I don't disagree. But I think Bethesda is trying to establish themselves as both a games company and a technology company. And that was their, hey, we're going to make your games great, just come license our tech.
Okay.
Because that seemed to be very much like, this is their Unreal Engine pitch. Of we can make your game stream better. All you got to do is pay us.
Well, we'll have to see.
Yeah.
If anything comes of it. Any other thoughts on the Bethesda? I think we hit every game.
We didn't, but we hit everything that mattered.
Okay.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about Elder Scrolls Legends. We didn't talk about Fallout Shelter. We didn't talk about Elder Scrolls
I'm
Blades.
sorry. I keep forgetting that mobile is gaming.
Don't you all have phones?
Oh.
But also they added Battle Royale to Fallout 76.
Yes.
We didn't talk about Fallout 76.
They added it. Do we want to talk about how they...
There's so many
last
players.
year...
54 players
Yes.
in a Battle Royale game.
But-
That's never been done before.
But
I mean, that exact number, I don't think it's been done.
Correct me if I'm wrong. When Fallout 76 was announced, didn't they stress, wasn't it the point of the game that this wasn't like the single player Fallouts? There weren't going to be NPCs, and now here they are, added in as a free update pack.
It's called, oh God, we spent too much money. Please save it. Please keep buying it, please.
Yes. A game where in Germany, I saw photos of them bundling Fallout 76 with the Fallout 76 bundle. As in, the console had a copy in the game, and they taped another copy of the game to the box.
Mhm.
That way you can give it to your friend.
And I think for a little while, that
If you
was
give
the
them that,
cheapest
you
way to
won't
buy the
have a
Xbox.
friend. Because there's no, and you wouldn't have had it. Maybe that's why they had NPCs, because you lost all your friends because you said, hey, let's play Fallout. Isn't it a great game? Let's play it as an MMO-ish. With up to 50 some Battle Royale people. I don't know. I think it was a step up as a presentation, but I already knew about all the stuff I'm excited for. Doom,
Except for
followed by
Ghostwire.
Youngblood, except for Ghostwire. But without any gameplay, I can't really be excited. I like the premise of it.
Interesting.
Right. Horror game, but it looked like you're going to be investigating. There's going to be detective elements, not typical survival horror.
Yeah.
So,
We'll
a twist. A twist. And hopefully better than that one, Microsoft, I think it was a launch title, Ghost Detective game, which I played. It wasn't very good. I can't remember the name of it.
I mean,
Are you talking about D4?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, that was a weird psychic, investigative game.
I would like if it was something that brought as much interest to me in that style of game as like the Alan Wakes did.
Actually, when I first saw something, I can't remember if it was that game specifically. It may have been. I was thinking Alan Wake.
That was Blair Witch.
It was Blair Witch.
Because that was my thought too. I'm like, is there another Alan Wake game?
You're not the only one who came to
And
that.
then it went bad. It
Yeah.
all went wrong.
The game I was thinking of was Murdered Soul Suspect.
Oh, okay.
Never heard of it.
I have heard of it. You
It's
play
not.
someone who was murdered, right? And you have to solve
Yep.
your own murder?
Yep.
Yeah, no, that sounded interesting.
I
but
played
never
through I
it.
played through the game. It's okay, but it's awfully simplistic. So I was disappointed. What I wasn't disappointed with was the Devolver Digital Big Fancy Press Conference Devolver Direct 2019.
Yeah.
Unless you were expecting games, in which case you were probably deeply disappointed. But Devolver, last year was the first time I watched their presentation.
And it was fun.
It won me over. I went back and watched the prior one because of it. And this continues that. They have a story arc going on, and I'm sure, as Eric would approve of, they're not like waiting 20 years to continue their story. They do it every E3. They continue their story. It's only like a 20-minute presentation.
Yeah, no. And yeah, that's all it is, but it's fun.
So I'm not going to go on YouTube and watch them. I'm not going to spoil what happens in terms of the story. To my knowledge, there were like 2-ish game reveals. There was
I have 6 on my list.
really?
Yeah.
So I have Carrion.
Yep.
That was the big new one.
that was the important one.
That's the one that interested me. That's the one where you're the alien. You're playing the alien, the monster in a platformer.
Right, they call it a reverse
yes.
horror game.
Yes. So it reminded me of a reverse tower defense game I once played. So obviously a different genre now, but the same idea. Just turn it on its head.
I'm wondering from what little they showed of it, if it's going to be kind of a Metroidvania type thing, because it seemed like it would be an interesting take if it basically, instead of having to find power-ups, you had to like consume certain people in order to be able to get past certain objects.
It looked like a Metroidvania.
Yeah.
From what they showed.
The graphics looked a lot like there is a Metroidvania game that was made by one guy.
Oh yeah, Axiom Verge.
Yeah, Axiom Verge,
Which is really good.
It's a great game. But the graphics look very, very similar to Axiom Verge. I don't know if there's any shared lineage there at all. The developer on that is Phobia Game Studios, so I don't know if that means
Or
anything
it
one way or
could
another.
just be that everything's got to have that art style anymore.
Yeah, it just seemed more specific. The particle effects in that seemed very, very familiar.
Let's see. There was an expansion for the game The Messenger.
Yep.
But that's not a new game.
No. I was just, this is my list of things they announced.
There was that arcade cabinet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is that for real?
It appears to
That's
be.
what it
yes.
appears to be. Because
Okay.
I thought it was a
Gungeon,
joke.
House of the Gundead.
Right. And now, Enter the Gungeon is an awesome game. If you
Haven't
like
played
that, roguelike type thing, I went to it after playing a lot of FTL, and Enter the Gungeon is great. It is tons of fun. But yeah, no, when I saw that cabinet, it's like, this has to be a joke. But apparently it's not. And it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, and I am on the Devolver website, and they are showing it listed there. And it's supposed to arrive exclusively in arcades early next year, and custom cabinets will be purchasable for homes directly from Griffin Aerotech, which is handling that side of it. So
No prices yet, right?
not that I'm seeing. Arcade game, but it's just a light gun game. I'm gonna guess in the neighborhood of 3,000 to 4,000.
That would be my guess.
but
Cheaper than a
cheaper than a
Stern
new
box.
cheaper than pinball. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean that's where they got to keep it controlled under that floor. So what other games did you take note of, Eric?
My friend Pedro, Blood Bullets Bananas, which they showed last year.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
it comes out on the 20th.
So had that not been out yet? I thought maybe there was a new expansion.
No.
Okay.
And it's weirdly only coming out for PC and Switch, according to their
Yeah.
thing.
That looks, I might get that for PC. It looks interesting. Platformer-ish.
Yeah. Then the Devolver Bootleg, which is out now on
Oh,
Steam,
yes.
Yeah.
which I thought was, it's they committed to that joke.
They do. As
So,
they do.
I give them credit for that. And then Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout, which looked to be a sort of puzzle platformer kind of, it looked a lot like Wipeout in a way.
I don't remember it.
Or I guess Lemmings would probably be a better video game.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, I remember. I remember that part now. Okay. Yeah. Any thoughts? Carrion looks kind of neat to me. Pedro does too.
It was funny. It was 20 minutes.
Yeah.
They made a Terminator reference that probably wasn't sponsored.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
That's true.
Good point.
Probably the only one.
Technically, the next thing would be the Upload VR showcase. I have done nothing with this because VR is a fad and I don't care about it.
Okay.
If I had VR, I might have watched it, but I don't care.
Okay.
I didn't even know it was a thing.
Eric?
No, I was
No,
not aware
VR
of
is
that.
totally a
Well,
thing.
yeah, I know VR is a thing. I didn't know the show was a
Okay.
thing.
Yeah, I was not
Well,
aware of that.
Then we'll sail past that and we'll sail into the PC gaming show, which I did not watch, though I have heard was received pretty well this year compared to, say, last year, in terms of that it went with a strategy of having time for a lot of questions and answers with some developers, which is something most of the other stages didn't do. So, and that's something I typically like, is gain more of that depth. A lot of time that happens in between the press conferences, but apparently they did incorporate it into the PC gaming show. There was more information about Baldur's Gate 3 at the PC gaming show. I know a lot of people are. I never was really big into Baldur's Gate, so
I've not played any of them. Nor have I played any of the
I've
Divinity
played some
games.
of. I've
I
played
think
some,
I played
but
some
it's
of
not,
2.
Yeah, it's not been a huge thing for me.
Let's see. There was the Borderlands 3. It got some Q&A attention. That's been
I think I actually saw that part of it.
I watched a highlight reel because it's 2.5 hours.
all right.
I don't have
Anything that stood out to you? Are you ready to buy Auto Chess?
no, the only thing that really interests me is Borderlands 3.
What about that RPG where you play as a shark eating fishermen?
They talked about that was talked about last year,
Okay.
and it you know what? If it's like
What about Griftland?
if it's like if it's one of those things, if it's like Pony Island or one of those other kind of silly concept-y games that's not very expensive, I could see me doing it for fun, but it doesn't scream, "Hey, I need to go have this game."
All right. Any games anyone wants to talk about from this show?
No, I've already established I don't have a high-end gaming PC. So
Okay.
if it's not Zack Crown,
I think you could probably play Conan Chop Chop on your PC.
Oh, jeez.
Oh yeah, I did. I heard about that one.
Yeah, it was an
that
April
was
Fool's
apparently
joke.
a joke from
Yeah.
Funcom is still producing those.
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, there were several things. None of them I cared about.
Okay, that's fine. What about the next showcase, the Limited Run Games Showcase, which apparently is a thing now where it's about giving physical copies to a bunch of indie games, limited physical releases. So it's oriented towards collectors and those who are adamant about owning everything physical. And I know people like that. They're starting to have to yield for.
Right, it's kind of like the equivalent of vinyl releases of
Yeah,
albums.
yeah.
So like
It's
Random
like
Access
a-
Memories was released on vinyl, despite that not being a great medium for that. So it gives people something,
The
sort of
vinyl
special
comeback is insane.
Right.
Target now has a whole aisle that is nothing
Yeah.
but vinyl and Bluetooth record players.
Yeah, it's I think part of that is it's not really a rebellion, but just that I chalk it up the same thing as pinball. That there's just a lot of digital stuff now, so people are looking for other things that are entertaining in an analog format.
Yeah.
And with records, it's real easy if you want to get into trying to do scratch DJing and stuff to actually use physical vinyl and learn how to do it if you want to play around with it. But
Mhm.
vinyl sales, I think, have been going up ever since 2010. So
right. I mean, they didn't
It's
have
not-
anywhere else to
it's
go.
more than a fad. I think it's more than a fad. Anything that lasts more than 5 years in my mind is more than a fad.
I think you're right. I think
So-
that's a solid
so you-
definition.
So
Retract
VR
your
will
earlier
be
statement?
VR will be dead because it won't be a big thing in like now. It already is less popular than it was.
But it's been
Look-
around for more than 5 years.
And vinyl has existed for decades. What I mean is that growth trajectory, like how pinball has been growing since 2012. It's been more than 5 years. It's more than a mere fad. Vinyl has been growing for more than 5 years. It's more than a mere fad. VR is a fad.
Yeah. VR's big thing
Microsoft
was,
dropped talking about Oculus or whatever compatible. Xbox One X doesn't even advertise that it has the power to do VR. They're not adding VR to it because it's a fad.
the tech isn't there yet. It's closer than it's ever been, but it's not there
No one wants
yet.
to trip in 2,000 tangles of wires and die.
That's why they have the Oculus Quest now.
Quest.
We'll see how that goes because
Mhm.
I don't think it's going to do even as good as the
Okay.
original.
Well, we'll go to the next real press conference then, which would be Ubisoft's.
Oh, Ubisoft is next? I thought Square Enix was next.
Not in my list.
Okay, I might have misordered them.
But
That's fine.
I'm following another publication's listing.
Gotcha. No problem.
So we can do Square if you'd like to jump to Square first.
I did do them in order, so
I have
mine
more
are all
for
over the
Ubisoft
place.
than Square anyway.
Okay. So Ubisoft, do you want to start with their TV show?
I'll probably watch it.
Tom Clancy's The Division 2, the TV show.
I did not watch this one when it aired. I don't feel really strongly about. I'm not surprised that they added zombies to Rainbow Six. That's like their biggest service game success recently.
Oh, is that what the infection or
Yes.
quarantine
Yeah.
is?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I have Rainbow Six Siege. I don't play it a lot because I'm not very good at it, and they get it's like multiplayer only, and they get really hardcore about when you accidentally shoot them in the face and they're on your team. But, so there's that. And apparently they're still supporting For Honor, which I didn't think did very well for them. But
I didn't think
they're
I
trying
was
to
shocked.
they're trying to Rainbow Six Siege that game and keep giving it.
But
love.
here's the thing:
all of
Rainbow
Ubisoft.
Six Siege was liked when it came out, and its popularity kept growing. It started small and grew large. For Honor dropped, and everyone's like, "This is going to be awesome!" And then they played it, and they're like, "This game's crap," and it died. Siege is still growing. For Honor, they're like, "Please, look, it's better now. Keep playing."
Yeah, I
I
don't
heard
know.
the lightsaber thing was pretty cool. That's fun.
Yeah. I think I got it as a Games with Gold, so I can finally play it.
Have you?
No. I got other stuff to play. No, normally for me, here's the thing. Normally I always associate the Ubisoft conference with having some Far Cry thing. And I don't have that here this time.
No, there was no Far Cry.
So because of that, I think it feels like the Tom Clancy show,
Very much so.
but he dead.
Very
But
much
his
so.
name lives on.
Apparently slapped onto everything. Eric, were there any particular things that you wanted to talk about?
So you mentioned earlier, and I'm sorry I can't remember her name, being the most earnest person at E3, but I would argue that John Barenthal's dog was the most earnest thing on stage. I don't know why he brought his dog on stage, but
Because
I
he's
appreciate
John
that he
Barent-
brought his dog on stage.
It was his desperate attempt to outdo Keanu Reeves.
and he lost.
Well,
Poor.
it's Keanu.
I mean, if it wasn't for the fact that I don't like him, I would almost feel bad for John Barenthal because I'm sure he was thinking, "Oh, this is going to be a big thing," and then they're like, we're sorry, Microsoft had Keanu Reeves," and he's like, "Okay, well, that's fine. I'll be number 2." And then Bethesda rolls out Ikumi, who nobody knew, and suddenly is like, maybe Keanu was better than her. And John Barenthal's like, "I'll bring my dog, and maybe people won't think that I'm a," but they don't because he's John Barenthal, and John Barenthal's a.
Why do you not like John Barenthal?
Honestly, I don't know, because every time he's in a show, I love him in the role he plays. I think it's just because he plays.
Was it Shane on Walking Dead? Is that what?
Shane. You're going to have to edit me so bad today.
I am.
But,
He's just furiously writing time codes.
but well, at least I'd read the comics, so I knew that was coming. But except for he should have died earlier. But no, I don't know. I honestly don't know. It's not like. Why can't I remember the actor's name now? He was the really bad Superman.
Oh,
Brandon Routh.
yeah,
Brandon Routh. I hate Brandon Routh.
I know you do.
And it's not like that. I actually don't really have a problem with John Barenthal. I thought he was great in Punisher. I don't like Shane, but I honestly thought he was one of the character. The way he played Shane was fine. I've not seen John Barenthal in something where I'm like, why is he in this? He's been great in everything. For some reason, every time I just see him, it's just like, John Barenthal's a I mean, that's just what it is. It's just natural reaction. I don't know why. I enjoy everything he does.
Okay, well, I don't want to talk about him anymore because I'm
I
getting.
think he's a very good fit
I'm
for
getting-
Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon.
I'm
I do think he's a very
getting
good
writer's
fit for
cramp,
Tom Clancy's
Why do you do these
So-
things?
So, taking a step back for a moment. So, Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Quarantine is not a different game?
I'm gonna have to. I'll search it.
Because they showed it separately from the Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege. They added, like, spy operators. Because that's the thing in Rainbow Six Siege, is that there's operators, which I think are the characters you play as.
Yes.
And so they
Because
just keep
it's-
adding
it's-
more and more.
It's a
There's
job
like-
system.
There's
It's a
like,
job system.
I don't know how many of them there are. There's dozens, I believe.
It appears to be a spinoff.
Okay.
So
So,
it's based on Siege, but it's
okay.
its own game.
gotcha.
I guess.
Okay.
I'm gonna check GameSpot here real quick. PvE spinoff. Okay, if PvE, I might bite on that because
Right. So it is the Call of Duty Zombies of Rainbow Six Siege.
Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege.
Yes, sorry, Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege.
Oh, okay. The mode, this is from GameSpot, so thank you, GameSpot. Quote, the mode appears similar to Rainbow Six Siege Outbreak, a popular limited time mode.
Oh, okay.
So there was a mode for Siege for it, and here they apparently spun it off into its own thing. Okay. I might get that, because, well, I'm too intimidated to play Rainbow Six Siege Online. PvE, which is how the old Rainbow Sixes were. That's kind of why I got the game
Well-
first. I knew it was PvP when I got
but
it.
it might still be online in that situation. I don't know.
Maybe.
If that's
Well, they're calling it PvE. I'm just saying,
Right, and if it's
if it's a
PvE
focus on a PvE, then people don't feel so bad carrying you while you learn.
Right. And if it's
Usually.
that, and it's the 3-player co-op, so basically what we're talking about is Tom Clancy's Left 4 Dead 3.
Yes. Faster than Valve.
I'm actually interested.
Faster than Valve. Are you going to play it, Eric, on your $15 a month Ubisoft Game Pass?
I do not currently intend to subscribe to Ubisoft.
Are you
that's
sure?
a nice cover.
Wow.
Wow.
Although
You're
Uplay
like the
Plus-
John Barenthal of this podcast with that answer.
Uplay Plus is available for Stadia.
Aww.
So-
Stadia.
If I
Stadia.
wanted to play a bunch of Ubisoft games on my Chromecast, that would be a way to do that.
Wow, you could play all the Clancy's.
I could play all the clans. Yeah,
Michael,
so
you going to get the
I do not
Ubisoft
currently
subscription
have-
service?
I play so few Ubisoft games. The last one I played was that Starlink game, and it wasn't even that great.
Are you going to get Just Dance for your Wii?
No.
That I wanted to mention that.
Well, I'm mentioning it.
Yes.
It's for not Wii U.
No.
Wii.
Yes. So Just Dance 2020 coming for Xbox, PS4, Stadia, Switch, and Wii. That's because there is still a market for that.
I read, now this was in the comment section of a Reddit, so take it for all the truth that of course means.
I don't know if
Was
you got to
that-
take it a grain of salt.
That there is evidence that a lot of nursing homes still are using Wii's for physical movement activities
Oh,
with
that would make
residents,
sense.
and that's what this is in part targeting.
That would make sense. Because that seems like the type of thing they'd be all about.
Mhm.
I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to skip past what's going to be the obvious high point, I think,
Yeah.
and continue on to their thing, their paid subscription stupid thing. Was I the only one who felt like the announcer seemed like somebody was holding a gun to her head while she... I bet you John Barenthal is off stage
With his dog.
with his dog, who's cool.
Very nice dog. That is the chillest dog because that was a large enough and loud enough crowd that no dog I've ever known would be able to deal with that.
I've known a couple, but they are exceedingly rare. But the whole thing felt so stilted. I mean, it felt like, in reality, it was like, we can't actually announce this, can we? This is like the most horrible thing ever. I'm going to get booed off the stage type. That's what it felt like. It felt terrible. I mean, the presentation was terrible. The whole pass is terrible. It's a horrible idea.
It is a bad deal when you compare that you can get Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, which includes Game Pass for Xbox, Game Pass for PC, and Xbox Live Gold for the same price. And you are not tied to a single publisher.
Yeah, it feels like they mispriced it. I think they were clearly modeling it off of EA's subscription model in their heads.
Mm-hmm.
But then, given the just sheer deal aspect behind Microsoft's package, which now is on PC as well,
Right.
I think it's undermined a lot of those other services that are publisher specific.
Right. Because when you can get...
But EA is so much bigger also than
Yeah.
Ubisoft is.
Yeah.
Right. And the thing is, with Game Pass, for $15, you get live, you get it on console, you get it on PC, you get your live gold. You get all of that for the same price as this, so you can play some dumb games.
Yeah.
Not all dumb
Yeah.
games.
Yes. And there's not one that's
I-
intelligent.
So some of these in here, I literally, my only note was dumb. And I didn't even bother to put the B on it.
Now, on their Uplay Plus presentation, they did say that there would be 100 plus games available. So, now
They're
to
going
be fair,
deep into the back catalog
Are they
for that.
counting
20 of
each-
those are Just Dance.
Yes.
Right.
And 20 of them are Assassin's Creed.
Yeah. And at least 15 of them are the different sections of like Brawlhalla.
And at least 15 are the variants of Far Cry. So,
There
okay.
we go.
Right, it's easy
So,
to
yeah.
get to that number.
If you like the sameness of Ubisoft, it's a good deal, maybe. But you probably already own all that stuff, is the thing.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the one highlight, Watch Dogs Legion.
That was the complete
All right.
highlight. It was the only thing.
Have any of you played any Watch Dogs games?
I have played a lot of Watch Dogs 2.
I have played all the way through Watch Dogs 1.
Watch Dogs 2,
You
from
picked
everything
the
I've
wrong one,
heard,
from what I've heard.
is far superior, and it is a very enjoyable game.
Watch Dogs 1 was more of a proof of concept style game when I played it. I did get all the way through it. It did keep me engaged. It just was a little too simplistic. But the hacking stuff was fun.
Mm-hmm.
Now it seems like they've taken it to the next Saints Row-ish we're now grandma's level.
And there's nothing wrong with it.
No.
I like the fact that they laid it out that it's you are recruiting people.
Mm-hmm.
Not uncommon. You play lots of games where you recruit people to help you out.
Yeah.
The fact that you recruit people to help you out and then you can play from that character's point of view is interesting to me.
Well, at least from what I saw, it seemed like there's no main character.
That's how it,
You just play as the people that are get recruited.
that's everything I read. That's how everything seemed. Is you're not, I'm not Bob, the main character.
No, you're the watchdog.
You are the Legion because they are Legion.
Right.
So, and it looks interesting.
So it seems to be that the common thread is DedSec, which is the group,
Yes.
Mhm.
and then that Jarvis-like AI assistant that is talking in your ear the whole time.
Yeah.
So, which
I-
makes sense.
I may go back to this franchise and revisit it now. Watch Dogs 1, while I liked it, I didn't like it enough to bother with 2.
I've heard really good things about it.
I heard 2 was an
super
improvement.
enjoyable, and it has some fun missions that gave me some of that Saints Row vibe without being that over. It was more like Saints Row
Adjacent?
2,
2,
silly but not.
but not and not all of the missions were that way. Some of them were super serious, but some of them were they were Saints Row 2 feels, which is good. That to me, that's a good thing.
Okay.
Now, I love Saints Row 4. I enjoyed Get Out of Hell. I mean, I like Saints Row games, but this game, it kept my interest for a long time for what it was. I didn't finish it because it's an open world game, and I could go to Open World Games Anonymous because I have an open world game problem. And that problem is I have to do everything. There's a reason that I crossed 250 hours of Fallout 4 and I wasn't even halfway through the storyline.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You may just want to focus.
I just don't play open world games anymore. I don't have the kind of time to
Just
put into
just
them
give them
to
up.
really enjoy
Just
it.
give them up.
So I pretty much just don't play them anymore.
It's very hard on 10 minutes a week.
Very hard.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else on Ubisoft?
Yeah, so the thing that I'm concerned with on Watch Dogs Legion is that what we saw, the different characters they played as, because they played as, I think, 3 different characters, or no, maybe 4 different characters throughout that demo. How much actual variety is there going to be? Or are we going to see, like, the same 6 characters over and over again kind of thing?
Yeah, because a lot of what they showed, it seemed like, okay, well, all this dialogue is very specific to this character, but there's no way they're going to be able to do that for every random NPC in the game.
Like, there's going to be plot characters, and then there's just going to be the proc-gen characters for the rest of it.
And in Watchdog 1, like, if you walked around on the streets, there weren't very many variety of character types that you met.
Right. And
they mostly just reskinned their outfits.
Yeah. And in Watch Dogs 2, like when you hacked phones, eventually you'd get to the point where if you hacked enough of them, they were obviously just repeating different scripts, sometimes with different voices, sometimes the same, and sometimes this and that. But and that's gonna happen. That's just a creative timing and technology limitation to do some of that stuff, they'd have to pour so much time into it. It's not worthwhile in the end, unless you run into people like me who's like, you've read like every instant message for everybody for the last like 9 hours. Well, yeah, because it's there. I have an open worlds problem. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. One other game I wanted to talk about from Ubisoft is Roller Champions.
Esports Bait, the game.
Well, the note I made, because I didn't catch the title at the beginning, was Skate-Skit-Ball.
Yes. The racing and basketball mechanics combined game.
Right. They called it a skill-based team PvP sports game that checks a lot of boxes.
For Twitch, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I said it looked like a cross between roller games, basketball, and Rocket League. So, yeah,
it may resonate.
It looks interesting. It doesn't look like a game I'm going to play.
I literally said Esports Bait and dumb, this time with the B.
One other thing I wanted to bring up was there was something they only showed a cinematic trailer for, but a game called Gods and Monsters.
Oh, I did have just a cutesy.
Yeah, it kind of had it wants to be Breath of the Wild look to it.
I thought Breath of the Wild art crossed with Kid Icarus.
Yeah, maybe. Because it's got the Greek mythology
Right.
look to
That's
it.
what
Yeah.
that's what gave it to me.
Yeah, and my understanding is that's the Assassin's Creed Odyssey people
Yes.
doing that one, which I've heard very good things about the direction that Assassin's Creed has gone. Actually, the two most recent in general being better. Well, depending on what you want, it's not the old Assassin's Creeds that I remember. They've gone far more RPG.
Right.
So
More enjoyable.
So this might be an attempt of Ubisoft to actually put out something that isn't the same cookie cutter Ubisoft sort of
Yes,
game.
that's
So
why
that's
it
a
got
good
my
thing.
attention.
It's a good thing to point out. Yes. Anything else on Ubisoft? I'm going to guess we probably won't talk much about what the next technical showcase was, which is the Kind of Funny Games showcase.
I did not catch that one.
All right. Apparently, according to the summation I've seen, is that they went through 60 upcoming indie titles just in rapid succession. There's basically just like trailer. I didn't watch it.
I didn't watch it.
Nope.
Then we're not talking about it. All right. But we're acknowledging that it existed. Now, here's something that we will acknowledge existed and everyone knows about, and that is the Square Enix E3 press conference. So let's go ahead and get Final Fantasy VII Remake out of the way. Does anyone not think it looks awesome?
No. it looks
I
really-
gotta admit, we talked about Remake not that long
Yes.
ago on the episode, and you know, we've had nostalgia interest, but nothing huge. I want this bloody game now.
It's looking like the way that they're approaching how even the gameplay is different enough, coupled with how long it's been since I've played Final Fantasy VII, that it would feel like a different experience to me. I really don't like how they're carving this up into multiple games, though.
That's my big issue with it.
Yeah.
I
Because
don't think it's ever going to get released otherwise.
Fair.
Didn't he make the comment it was like 2 Blu-ray discs worth of content?
yeah.
But isn't that just going to be like 4K cinematics? Isn't that what, I mean, where's the size of the content really? It's gotta
Right.
be, it's gotta be the constant. That was why it was on so many discs originally, was just, you had to keep them stored on CDs uncompressed and play them.
Well, yeah, but they don't have to do that anymore because they can do cutscenes in real time now.
Mm-hmm.
So,
But are they doing that?
I'm sure there's some things that are going to be pre-rendered when you like zoom out really far or something like that.
It's going to be HDR, 4K, Sephiroth.
He probably won't even be in that game.
That's true. It probably won't. Never mind. This is going to be the head of that tech company.
Well, coming from someone who's never actually played Final Fantasy VII, because I didn't have a PlayStation, and I wasn't really that big into RPGs when that came out anyway.
Do you need a hug?
No, I don't.
Okay.
From what I've seen of it, I want to play it.
Yeah.
My big issue is, am I going to need like 3 generations of consoles to play this whole thing by the time it's all out?
It's
Because it sounds like they don't even know what the next game's going to be yet.
Yeah.
Heard of Kingdom Hearts?
Yes, I have, and that's why I don't play them.
Now, to be fair, if you get this on Xbox, my guess is, though I haven't seen a confirmation yet,
Is this not exclusive to PlayStation?
no, that leaked out of a store.
Oh, okay.
Like Amazon
I hadn't
Canada or
heard that
something.
yeah.
It's timed. It's
Timed
timed for
exclusive.
Sony.
Okay. Well, then.
So yeah, someone
I'm not
mistakenly,
mistaken,
one of the shops mistakenly put up the Xbox version and took it down later in the day. This was about a week before E3. So no, it's going to come out for more than that. And I'm going to guess that Project Scarlet, I butchered that. Project Scarlet will be fully backwards compatible
Yes.
to the Xbox One.
Absolutely.
It has
No,
to.
they've announced it.
Yeah.
They've announced it.
I mean, the PC architecture is
In fact, they have
established, so.
stopped making backwards compatible games for the Xbox One because they were working on backwards compatibility. That team is working on backwards compatibility for Scarlet.
So given that, there's that, I guess you could take comfort with, I'm sure the PS5 will be, because again, the PC architecture is already in place on the current gen, that won't be a problem, but you may be dead before they all come out.
Yes.
So you need to factor that in.
Right.
If you think you might get the diabetes or something,
The Beatus.
you might want to treat it, is what I'm saying. Yeah, it's, so that looks great. So let's talk about the other stuff that came out of, the Square Enix. I don't know what to start with. Crystal Chronicles getting remastered strikes a nostalgia
Woo,
thing.
the
But they announced that
basket.
last year.
They
Yes,
did. That's
yes.
why I can't put it in the same tier as granted Final
Did
Fantasy
they put a
VII.
release date on it? I don't have it in my
I don't have it, but I do have that it's going to be on PS4, Switch, and phones.
Switch is the only one that matters.
My question is it cross-playable? I didn't look.
I don't know.
Because if we could do it on, if you could literally have it on Switch and phones and PS4s and everybody playing together.
I mean, two of those, yes, probably. The third one is always kind of an iffy
I know.
proposition.
But it doesn't matter. I've got a Switch. That's all that
Yeah.
matters.
What it says right here is it says will be out this winter.
Yeah.
So that could be
That's-
anywhere from
That is close to a release date.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
So it
close
could
enough.
fall into next year, but
Yeah, I just want. I don't even know if I even want to get it and play it.
Now, what would be really cool, and I know they're probably not going to do this, but the closest thing to a sequel they released for that were a couple of WiiWare-only games for the Wii, called Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, My Life as a King, I think, and My Life as a Villain.
there were actual other Crystal Chronicles games.
Were there?
Yes, because I played at least one of them. I think 3DS had one.
Okay, I don't remember playing one on 3DS. But they were sort of more of a management sim kind of thing.
Yeah.
So they could throw that in to the package pretty easily, I would expect.
But can we manage who carries the basket?
Well, we
Not
know it won't
exactly.
be you.
I don't need a basket. I just
That
need
would be the
somebody
other
to heal me
question
when I
is,
come back
are there-
in from not having the basket.
You know, they haven't got into any detail on, have they changed the gameplay mechanics or anything like that. Because, of course, it doesn't have to be that way anymore.
But that's the charm.
That is part of the charm. I agree with you.
I will be 100% honest. If this comes out and they got rid of the basket, screw that game. I'd have no interest anymore.
I don't know. I did do some quick checking. I haven't seen them confirm anything about cross-platform.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect it.
No, but it
I
would have been
wouldn't.
interesting.
I don't think Square's ever announced anything about cross-platform anything.
All right, so separate from Crystal Chronicles, do we want to talk about Outriders and how generic it looks?
It looks so generic I didn't even remember it
Is that
until I saw the list
one
here.
that is very, very much aping Mad Max Fury Road? Or am I thinking of
It's
different game?
a shooter. Let's see.
It's the 1 to 3 player co-op shooter. That I don't think they really showed anything but just cinematic stuff. They showed so much stuff. The thing is that was like one of the few non.
Yeah. The lady in the middle looks like Furiosa.
I see where you're getting
Yeah.
the Mad Max vibe.
I don't
yes.
know.
So yes, that samey shooter. Are you going to buy it?
Well,
I mean,
won't
can I
go till
subscribe
summer
to a
of
Square Enix
2020.
service that would give me the ability to get all of their games on launch?
Yeah, sure, for $15.
But
Oh, I'm sorry.
don't worry, you have the
This
back
is Square.
catalog.
This
You
is
can
Square.
go back. You could go back and play.
$30.
You can go back and play Final Fantasy IV yet again. Remember, it was originally sold as 2 in the U.S.
Well, hey, they remastered 8.
Sort of. It doesn't look like that great of a remaster.
Yeah,
I mean,
they upsampled 8.
yeah. Then the fonts look kind of weird.
What?
As long as the music still sounded good, that was the best part about 8.
That was the...
I did
there-
not
there
hate
was
8, but 8 had some good music. But all Final Fantasies have good music.
I think 8 probably is underrated. As-
No. 9 is underrated.
I think 9 has exactly the amount of enthusiasm for it this
9
many years later as it deserves.
9 is like the 3rd best Final Fantasy.
I'm not ranking them at the moment. I'm just saying I think
4th best Final Fantasy.
8 has some undeserved criticism.
Moving on from this attempt to spiral us into a discussion of where all the Final Fantasies are ranked, is there any enthusiasm around the table for the Saga series, which is now going to have West? I think these are first-time
These
Western
are first-time
releases.
Western
Romancing
releases.
Saga 3 and Saga
Yeah.
Scarlet Grace Ambitions.
I don't care.
I know nothing about that series, so I
Okay.
don't really know.
I've actually
So-
heard of it.
Well, yeah.
I would like to see a re-release of the original 2,
Okay.
because Romancing Saga came out here as Final Fantasy Legend, which I know you know that game.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then Final Fantasy Legend 2 was Romancing Saga 2. I would like to see, in a way that they did the Collection of Mana, which I don't think they even talked about that at the Square Enix. It's the Nintendo one. I would like to see them do something like that.
Okay.
So for them to release one Romancing Saga game seems like a not great deal.
Okay.
Yeah.
I get it.
Call of Duty 1. Oh, I'm sorry. Battalion 1944 Eastern Front.
That looks so generic.
Generic war shooter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It come up when it popped up. I'm like, are they just playing Call of Duty like the original Call of Duty?
What about the Avengers game? Generic Avengers game.
I feel bad for them because they made a choice to not go
MCU.
MCU.
It was a mistake.
And it was a mistake.
But
It looks close enough to it, but far enough away from it that it's just kind of like.
and they chose the same characters except for Hawkeye.
Nobody likes Hawkeye. Poor Hawkeye.
I think they made a mistake. They should have, if they were going to make them different, they should have very, very embraced different and gone, even if they kept the same characters, gone like either pure comic or just so different as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're too realistic looking
Right.
that it creates a weird sort of side feeling to Uncanny Valley.
Exactly.
Because it's not that there's
Yeah,
anything.
I'm fine with that.
I mean, I want to say I don't like the art style, but I don't think there's actually anything wrong with the art style. I think it's just that they look so close and yet so far away
Exactly.
that it feels like discount Robert Downey Jr.
And the story sounds interesting
yeah.
for a generic Avengers story.
But at the same time, a bad thing happens, and then 5 years later, we're getting the band back together, and that
Is
I'm like-
what Avengers do.
no, that's what Jedi do.
And they don't really get
And
the
they
band
hide
back
the entire
together.
time.
But-
Yeah, well, the Ghost Band. So that just feels too much like they were pulling plot threads out of Endgame. That I'm like, you couldn't have picked a different time frame.
Yeah.
You couldn't have done, and
We didn't need Thor. We could have Beta Ray Bill.
right.
It would have been cool. Everybody,
There's a ton of characters.
everybody
and
has thoughts about Beta Ray Bill.
ultimately, this is Marvel Destiny.
It
And
is.
they're going to roll out new characters over time because they even
Yeah.
showed off Hank Pym, not
Scott Lang.
it's not Scott Lang.
Yeah.
So they're
And they made
I
the
think
big hit.
eventually this game will
No
become a
loot
thing
boxes.
that is
no
distinctive enough.
win, no
It's
blah,
just-
blah.
The pitch that they made at that presentation felt like discount MCU.
And it hurt them bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it did.
Real bad.
And from what I've heard of, I guess they showed a demo behind closed doors. And the impressions I got from was that they talk about how the game is going to have multiplayer. The person who saw the presentation was like, I don't understand how this is going to have multiplayer. Because I guess what they showed was a little bit from what was seen in the trailer, but it was basically, you play as this character for a while, and then for no reason whatsoever other than they want you to play as someone else, it goes to you playing this character. And it just did that through the whole demo.
Lovely.
And it's like, okay, so how is this multiplayer now?
You're
Is it
gonna
going to
play,
be, there's going
and
to be
you're going
just,
to take a break, and someone else is going to play.
are there going to be
and then
like
they're gonna
separate
take a
multiplayer missions, and then there's a
That'd be
story
nice.
missions, or what?
Yeah, I'm guessing that the single player story is going to be you get to try out all the characters,
Probably.
and then the multiplayer is going to be more raids and the very Destiny kind of thing that they seem to be pitching.
Yeah.
Which I say that as someone who has never played Destiny, but I get it as part of my pre-order for Google Stadia.
Congratulations.
Destiny 2, that is.
I don't have any other games out of the Square Enix presentation that I want to bring up.
No.
It's DLC, remastered, DLC.
They launched the
DLC.
last Remnant remaster
On
during the
Switch?
event. Yep, on Switch. Oninaki got a lot of time on the
Yeah.
stage, is my understanding. I didn't watch that.
I did. It got a lot. Whatever. It didn't interest me.
Okay.
Now, I liked the trailer they put out for Life is Strange 2. It had a very going on a journey, heartstring tuggy type.
I liked Life is Strange after the first episode.
Yeah, and it made me. I've had interest in Life is Strange. I've never played it. I've had interest in it because everything I've heard about it. This looks cool as well. But yeah, Oh, Octopath Traveler's coming to Steam.
Okay.
Did
So-
it already arrive? I thought it was.
Yeah, it was
already
like-
been released.
Like
Yeah.
the next day or something.
Okay.
I thought that was one of the quick release ones, but
Gotcha.
I still need to finish that. It's long.
Yeah, I need to get back into that as well.
but otherwise I don't know. I've got a whole bunch of notes and none of it's anything interesting. I mean, literally, this was Final Fantasy VII and Crystal Chronicles for me.
Well, then we'll move into the last presentation of what's seen as E3, and that would be Nintendo as usual, their E3 Direct. A lot of positive response to Nintendo, I would say broadly from the community, from everything I've been reading.
Even from people who
Except
aren't
for
Nintendo
one
fanboys.
thing. Except
Yeah.
for one thing.
well, we'll get into that, but let's start with some happy stuff. Smash. All right, so DLC confirmation of the hero, I guess as he's known from Dragon's Quest. I think what was more exciting to a lot of people was that Microsoft allowed Banjo-Kazooie to go on
Mhm.
over.
Mm-hmm.
And that apparently made a lot of people lose their minds. So there must be a
That-
lot of big Banjo
That
fans out
reveal
there.
was
Yeah.
solid. That was solid trolling with Duck Hunt Dog.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that was good.
Yeah.
So I guess that seemed to resonate really well. The remaking localization of Trials of Mana seemed to be pretty
Yeah.
positive
Yeah,
for
because
fans
the
of that.
third one had never come out here.
Right. Seiken Densetsu 3 did
Yeah.
not come out in the US.
So they released the collection of that, but then they're doing a complete remake of that third game,
Mhm.
which
Yep.
looks really good.
They spent a lot of time on Link's Awakening.
Yeah.
And it looked really good.
Yeah. That art style is really nice.
That is a nice art style.
And
That's
Zelda Maker Light.
Yeah.
Zelda Maker Light, yes. A lot of time was spent on Luigi's Mansion 3.
Yeah.
My daughter wants that.
Don't you mean you want that?
I also want
As
that.
the one Luigi
I have
supporter
not
here.
played the second one.
I didn't know there was a second
It
one
came
until
out on
I
the
saw
3DS.
that there
I
was a
didn't know
third.
there was a first one. That's
Yes.
a lie. I watched
Yeah,
the speed
everyone
run
knows
of it.
about the first. I like to think that Luigi's Mansion is probably not true, but in my head canon, that's the game which started the now broadly accepted stance that Luigi has brain damage
Interesting.
I can see that.
and that he's just not the smart one. And people are allowed to make fun of him for it. So it's like he's bad too and deserves to be
So
made fun of.
Nintendo did actually change the personality of Luigi over the years.
Yeah.
So at one point he was like the greedy brother.
Mhm.
But I think
I saw-
they have Wario now,
There's a
and
video
Waluigi.
video on YouTube where someone put together actually analyzes the actual point where it shifted and where like in the RPG games they started making fun of Luigi being the dumb brother and all that. Yeah, there's a
Yeah,
point.
he is the coward. And
Yes.
that's
It's as it should be.
But Luigi's Mansion was a fun game. We actually just went to Dave and Buster's the other day and we played the arcade one, and she had a lot of fun with that. So then when she saw the trailer for Luigi's Mansion 3, she was
That makes sense.
super excited about that. Also, Gooigi is a thing.
Mm.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I like the mechanical aspect of that. That
They
because he's
could
made
have
of
worked it
probably
back
ectoplasm, then spikes don't affect him. So I guess in the single player mode, you will be swapping between them in order to solve puzzles.
Okay.
But it's like got up to 8-player multiplayer, which is kind of,
Crazy?
I don't say crazy, kind of
Silly?
interesting.
Interesting is
It's a
not
pretty
only,
silly game.
it's not only a safe word, it tells one nothing. Speaking of nothing but a story trailer, apparently a very well-received story trailer, Fire Emblem Three Houses.
Yeah, they showed a lot of gameplay on that in their Treehouse stream that they do,
Yeah.
which they always do over like
Right.
3
They had a
days.
Nintendo Direct a while back that was all about Fire
Yes.
Emblem Three Houses. So there's been a lot out on that game.
Yeah.
I still not.
I've
it's not
never.
for me.
The only Fire Emblem game I have ever played is their Dynasty Warriors spin-off game.
Hmm.
So I know of the
Really doesn't have
characters
much to
from
do with
that.
Fire Emblem.
I've never actually played a normal Fire Emblem game. I know someone who loves the series and she is super excited about this
Yeah.
one.
No, people
Good
like Fire
for
Emblem. All I know about Fire Emblem is from Smash. That's very
Yeah.
little.
You got to look at Animal Crossing. Not a lot,
Yeah.
but a little.
Well, it
No,
depends.
the
Are
Treehouse
you
stream
mine?
showed quite a bit more.
Yes.
I'm only focusing on the presentation. It's
Right.
not fair to take a 3-day treehouse and compare it to a presentation.
No, it was only like
presentation.
an hour.
We're
Yeah.
just giving
And my
you
daughter's watched it
supplemental
3 times.
information.
Of course, that's fine.
My wife has watched it twice now.
My daughter's very excited for Animal Crossing. My wife's very excited for. Basically, at this point, I think my wife's is going to get a Switch because she wants Sword Puppy and she wants Animal Crossing and she wants Spyro. And apparently she wants a Switch other than just playing it online. So.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. There are a lot of other things I know that were announced, but those are the ones that I was going to go ahead and mention. So I'll kick it over to any of you to pick up another one you want to talk about.
Yes, they're making a new Contra game.
It looked bad.
It looked terrible. I hated the look.
I have played some bad Contra games. It looks way better than those.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
Well,
We can play the bad ones because they're putting out the Contra Anniversary
I do not
Collection.
believe those are on that.
Oh,
no,
well,
they're
that'd be
not.
Yeah, the Appaloosa Interactive Contra games for the PlayStation 1 were real bad.
No, I downloaded the Anniversary Collection because I love the old school Contra.
good. Yes.
It's just, I had never played Contra Hardcores, which I guess is the one they put out on Genesis.
Yep.
It's bad.
Is it?
You can't run and shoot at the same time.
Oh,
That's why it's hardcore.
that's bad. I said,
Yeah.
when it started, when the trailer started, I was like, is this Contra? And it was, and I'm like, I'm not actually interested in this at all.
No.
It's just,
Panzer Dragoon.
now Panzer Dragoon I recognized instantly.
Yeah.
And
that,
yeah, I am interested in that.
and I think that's going to be a great thing to use like Joy-Con controls for, with like gyro to aim where you're actually shooting,
I could see
as
it
opposed to
if
just
it's
moving a
done right.
Yeah, as opposed to just moving a cursor around. Because, like, when I played the Dragon-like game that's on Xbox, what is that called?
Crimson Skies. I
Yeah.
Crimson Dragon.
think. Crimson Dragon.
It's one of those where you just move a cursor around to point at what you want to kill, but I have problems with those games because my brain can't decide if it wants the control inverted on those.
I can see that.
Because it's like, okay, I'm just moving a cursor around, so I don't need inversion, but then suddenly I'll feel like I'm flying or controlling a camera, and I'm like, I want inversion. My brain will go back and forth while I'm playing the game.
I can see where that could be an issue.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
every once in a
I'm
while.
hoping it'll have, I'll just point at the screen at what I want to shoot at.
Now, one thing before we continue flipping back to Animal Crossing, as I think we completely forgot to mention, they pushed this game.
Yes.
It was
That's
a
the one
November
bad
release.
thing. So I was trying to find the message that my wife sent me because she was watching the direct as it was on, and she got to the point where they announced that it was coming out in March of next year, and said some less than savory things about that.
Seeing as my daughter was beside me and on one side and my wife was on the other side, I will tell you the answers was no.
Yeah.
Why? Why,
That's the
God?
gist of it.
Why? I want it now.
I think part of the why is the remaining year of Nintendo's Switch schedule is stacked.
It is insanely busy.
There is a lot of good stuff coming out.
Yeah,
for the
but
end of
I
the
would
year.
argue that the average Animal Crossing consumer does not care for most of that library.
They might
care
not-
about Pokemon.
They might, yeah. And they might not also because Nintendo cares, and Nintendo's like, wow, our schedule is stacked. Let's just push that off.
Right. No, I'm sure Nintendo is looking at it from how do we, get revenue spread out over an entire fiscal year, and March of 2020 pushes it into the next fiscal year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, they may have a weak lineup next fiscal year, and so they're trying to shore things up a little bit by Animal Crossing. Now, I'm sure you've all seen the headlines, and I have not dug enough into it about something about Nintendo losing $1 billion in value because of this announcement.
No, I haven't.
Okay.
I've heard about it, but it's just
There's more. I'm sure there's more detail in that, and maybe someone read billion yen instead of $1 billion,
right
or something along those lines. So I don't.
But what it amounted to, it was pushed past the end of the fiscal. Stocks dropped.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
So-
it happens.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not a big deal because they have Pokemon coming out.
Right. So
I'm by no
They-
means a financial advisor, but I would say that if Nintendo stock is low right now, it might be a good time to buy.
I don't think it's that low.
If they lost $1 billion in value, that's $1 billion for them to regain in value. That's nothing. That's not nothing, rather.
And we can't forget also coming out is
Talking about Cadence of Hyrule?
Cadence of Hyrule. Because that's what we need is a Zelda-themed Crypt of the Necrodancer.
I would argue that yes, absolutely, we do need that. Have you played Crypt of the Necrodancer?
Yeah, it's fun.
It's actually
really good.
fun.
It's also really cheap on Switch right now.
Oh, I think I've got it on...
I have it on Steam.
Steam, yeah.
Yeah, I also have it on Steam, but it was like under $2.
So, in additions, the good Marvel game out of this whole thing, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3.
Yeah.
Right, so I actually saw the Nintendo Direct before I saw the Square Enix. So I thought the new Square Enix game, the Avengers game that everybody was hush-hush about, was Ultimate Alliance 3. So that was a little confusing for a little bit.
Now they announced that earlier in the year.
Yeah, it's not like a new announcement. It's just...
Not much at Nintendo was a new announcement.
No.
But with their directs and stuff, I don't see why you would.
They don't.
They spread news.
I mean, my understanding was that the Trials of Mana was new at the E3 as an announcement, and they had some sort of tactical game based on the Dark Crystal.
Yes. The Dark Crystal Age of Resistance Tactics.
Yes. Which my wife is also interested in because
she loves the Dark Crystal.
She loves the Dark Crystal.
Okay.
And she's so excited because there's a new Dark Crystal TV show coming out.
So
on
this appears to be a tie-in, but it is an interesting game to make as a tie-in. If you're going to make a tie-in game, a tactics one is not typically the path you go.
Typically not.
So, Dark Crystal XCOM looks interesting.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. Is there any other things in...
They spent some time on No More Heroes 3.
Yes, I'm excited about that. I love No More Heroes.
I've never played any of them.
Yeah.
They're so much fun.
I think I watched you play one of them at one point in time.
Maybe.
Probably the first one.
Probably. They're fun.
But-
They're silly. They're over the top.
There's another game they spent some time on called Astral Chain.
That looks awesome. That's from
That's a
Platinum
Platinum,
Games.
Okay. Platinum's kind of, for me, hit and miss.
Yes.
Okay, that's the one. That's the one where you're like hooked up to the creature, and no, that looked cool.
That looks really good. They did a lot of showing on that in their Treehouse streams.
Okay,
So the combat looks really solid in it.
but
there's also,
it's Platinum Games.
But there's also the whole thing is you are a cop, so you actually do detective type stuff too.
Oh, interesting.
I'm Batman.
I guess
On an
the
animal.
things you're fighting against, like normal people can't see them, but they come from like another dimension, and you can even go into that.
Where are the
dimension.
invisible demons going?
Yeah.
So now-
Swear to me.
So now it's Death Stranding.
Not
Except
that
this is coming out.
Yeah.
So it's totally different.
And watching the trailer for this, doesn't make my brain explode trying to figure out what's going on.
They spent time on Demon Ex Machina.
Damon X Machina.
Damon. I always pronounce that one as Demon.
Yeah, that looks fun too.
That's
it
the
looks like
mech one.
Yeah, it looks like
Yeah.
they've made a lot of improvements to that from when they put out the demo version of it last year, earlier this year. I don't remember when it was.
I remember hearing about. I never played it, but I remember hearing about it. It did not have the greatest reviews.
Yeah, I mean, I played the demo of it, and it was like, it's fine, but it looks like they made a lot of adjustments to it. I mean, it's got 4-player co-op.
The only other game that I had
Empire of Sin.
Yeah, I was going to mention Empire of Sin.
That's the winner. It's a mobster game, and it looks
It's
like an old school
Mobster
silly-
XCOM.
Yeah, it's Mobster
But
XCOM.
did you see who's developing it?
No, I didn't.
It is Romero Games.
Oh,
So
I
it is
did
studio
notice that.
formed
Yeah,
by John Romero and his wife,
right.
her name is Brenda Romero, and she is better known as Brenda Braithwaite, who worked on the Wizardry games as well as there's another, I can't remember off the top of my head. There's another notable. She is well known.
She's a person.
She's not just John Romero's wife.
Yeah.
I by no means do I want to reduce her to that.
So
Okay.
that was the winner of Nintendo.
Really?
They didn't say
Okay.
anything else.
Well, but there was the one really important thing they threw in at the end.
Super Mario Maker 2.
Well, no, that's awesome too.
That's coming out this month or next month?
The Catan. I like Catan. I think I'd rather play it on tabletop than on a computer, though. It's more social interaction.
Well, to answer your question, Mario Maker's out the 26th of this month.
Okay.
But no, I was talking about
Dauntless.
Breath of the Wild.
Oh, that Breath of the Wild already
Breath
came
of the
out.
Wild sequel.
I got it.
Yeah.
That was a long time.
Well, I mean, their short little cinematic trailer has been torn apart by the internet trying to figure out everything. Obviously, the big takeaway from everyone was Zelda's got a bitch new haircut.
Well, and that's the
I didn't even
important part.
I didn't even notice.
But, that led to questions of, is she going to be playable?
Hopefully.
Because shorter hair means less physics to do
Will
when someone's
she
moving around.
be chic?
Maybe. But also, the music that plays at the start of that kind of sounded like Twilight Realm stuff. So people are wondering if they're going to bring that in. Also, the corpse that they find, it obviously everyone thinks it's just Ganon's corpse, but Ganon in this was not an actual person. He was more of a force of nature type thing. But in one of the, like, cinematics in the game where they're talking about the past, they show this, like, old, like, artwork from, like, ruin type stuff that shows Ganon being fought by the past hero who had red hair. And so that people are wondering maybe that corpse is of him.
I love this deep dive insanity.
I
People
know.
go frame by frame on stuff.
It's so much fun.
I can't say anything. I do it for movies. I did it for the Godzilla trailers. Like, frame by frame. It's hilarious. And when you get the right groups online that really go insane into stuff, and
Yeah.
is this vague reference to this tiny little thing, this tiny little bucket of knowledge like 9 people know? It's awesome.
Well, unless there are additional Nintendo games to bring
A
up,
couple interesting ports.
ports.
Yes. So, Resident Evil 5,
And 6,
Resident Evil 6.
which no one cares about.
Right.
I thought they were dropping that one from canon, but
It was a weird reveal on that one because it was like a trailer of people going into a house to play Resident Evil.
Yeah, that was weird.
That was weird.
It's like you're announcing ports. Okay.
I've won both of those games.
I'm sorry.
The Witcher 3,
Yeah, Sometimes sacrifice.
which is a really interesting.
Yes, there have been a lot of jokes online about the resolution of Switch Witcher 3.
Yeah.
I saw one that was showing somebody with a sledgehammer beating what's his name? I can't remember his name all of a sudden. You're all into a switch. Where he's like just crushing him into a switch. And you see a horse's leg sticking out and like Yennefer's head sticking out. Just sitting there with a sledgehammer. It's like, it'll fit. I know it'll fit.
I saw someone, I think they took a screenshot from Ultima Online and put that on the screen. Witcher 3.
Also, Alien Isolation, which is an interesting.
I have not finished that yet.
Yeah, I haven't played it, but it is an interesting choice to put on the Switch.
You know what, Tony? You need to put that on Switch and hand it to your oldest daughter and say that it's the new Animal Crossing and just see how far it goes before she realizes.
That actually, that's kind of humorous.
It would be.
That would be
Terror is very fun. When
Now,
children are
what I need to
subjected
do is
to
I
it.
need to do that, and I need to set it up because she's always talking about she wants to do stuff on the YouTuber stuff. So I should just do it and just go. Okay, here we'll let you stream this game.
Yeah, it's a Let's Play.
It's a Let's Play. Have fun. I'm
Yeah.
a monster.
Lights off. Vision on.
Another one I'm interested in.
Doom Eternal.
No.
You're going. This is how you're going to play Doom
Yeah,
Eternal is on the Switch.
Yes.
What
Yes,
about
definitely.
Wolfenstein's coming to it as well?
Oh, that's right.
I heard it played okay, the last one, Wolfenstein 2, but I will probably continue playing on the Xbox for that. Or Stadia. Ni no Kuni, which I didn't realize during the trailer.
I just love how your voice changed.
Yes.
And I wish it was on camera because you just kind of bopped your head to the side. It's like, oh, Stadia.
Yeah. I'm
Ding!
doing
I
that
was
for
waiting
minute.
to see the little TM pop up beside you. Ding!
Coming this fall.
Or to hear your Google Pay wallet just go ding, ding, ding.
Brought to you by Carl's Jr. So Ni no Kuni, which I didn't play when it came out originally, and I didn't realize when the trailer during this that it was a port of the original one. So that looks interesting to me. Which didn't it come out on the Wii U originally?
I think it was on PS4.
Was it PS4? Okay.
I think that's one of the ones that fell into my thing where I just wrote lots of ports.
Yeah. Like new Super Lucky's Tale.
Yes.
Anything else?
Something that I didn't realize was at the Square Enix instead of the Nintendo one is Dragon Quest Builders 2. Which the first one is a lot of fun.
I've heard
so I'm
good
looking
things.
forward to a second one. My daughter was also like, "Oh, I want to play that."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that'll be. I haven't heard any negatives
Though
on the
it
first
doesn't
one.
seem like it is just Dragon Quest 2, but in Dragon Quest Builders, because Dragon Quest Builders is kind of Dragon Quest 1.
Right.
or at least it follows after Dragon Quest 1.
Hmm.
So it's fascinating that they even tried to slot it into the chronology, but this one seems more like a direct sequel to that than something else.
Okay. Well, based off of that, and we'll roll out, obviously, the showcases that we didn't discuss, because who cares about them anyway.
Right.
But we need to start with who lost E3. We always have to start with the truly challenging one. I'm going to go ahead. I'll kick this one off, and I'm going to say I think EA did. If for no other reason than they had so much time for so few games.
To be fair, though, E3 or EA wasn't actually at E3.
I know, but we're counting them in the chronology of what we've listed. So EA Play, I think of all the things we talked about, is
Sony?
the loser. They're not there, so they don't count. We didn't talk about them.
Okay.
Remember my
So
conditions.
Sony is out of contention.
My
but
conditions
EA is in contention
are,
because
it
they
has
were
to be
E3
showcases or
Right.
events that
Okay.
we covered here.
And we've covered EA in the past, and they've been, and EA's been E3 adjacent for several years now.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I think EA, of the stuff we talked about, of the segments, the presentations, I think EA Play, I don't think it was a train wreck, but 3 hours for a half dozen games is not, and there's nothing really to say about FIFA and Madden. So
New rosters.
it was just too, I'd say it loses because it was too long. I think it was just too long for what it was.
I actually kind of agree.
Yeah.
I
I mean-
didn't watch the EA one, so I don't have a.
I didn't
opinion
either.
on
This is
it, but
based off of
I didn't
summation
even realize
reading
they were
and
having a
clips.
presentation.
I knew they were.
Summation
and
reading
I
and
watched
clips
a
can tell me
highlight
everything
reel
I need to
because
know.
I didn't care.
I watched the two things about it that I wanted to see. And
FIFA
everything else was
and
meh.
Even
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I give an honorable mention to Bethesda for it being the apology tour, but it
But
still
they had
was
some-
better.
some
But
interesting
as I
bits.
noted already, Bethesda was, in my view, overall an improvement from last year's Bethesda. So,
Bethesda
Yeah.
was better than Ubisoft.
Yeah.
see, I
honestly-
didn't watch Ubisoft. So,
But
I would
there
say
are more
Ubisoft
games
was the most
that
boring.
Ubisoft announced that I'm interested in. Than what
so maybe
Bethesda
you should
announced.
pick Ubisoft as
See, I'm the
the
other
loser
way.
of E3, and it would be E3
And
proper.
that's fine.
Because Bethesda had like 2 games.
I could see
Right.
picking
And so did
E3
Ubisoft for me.
off of the sheer tone deafness of launching a $15 a month
Yeah, that was
playing
obviously a misstep on their
streaming
part.
service.
Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah.
that was like the most tone deaf announcement. I think it's a pretty easy win as being the most tone deaf.
Probably, yeah.
I mean, there were some other things that were just like gobbledygook buzzword speak, like the other cloud system stuff, but that wasn't like patently offensive to gamers.
Right.
Anyway, that's
Yeah,
not
no,
what you.
they-
That's not
they
what you want
misread
to
the
talk
room on
about.
that one.
You want to talk about who won E3. So I want to know who won E3.
We did.
We, the gamers.
No, Wii, because
Oh,
they,
oh.
announced, they got an announcement that there's something coming to Wii on the
Oh, that's clever. That's clever. That's true. Just Dance, and that was thanks to Ubisoft, who you were just now panning, Mike.
Oh, I still
Yeah.
panned Ubisoft as well. I
Maybe
think
you
they're
should have picked
terrible.
Ubisoft over
I just-
EA Play as the most disappointing, the loser of E3. It was at least during E3.
Ubisoft was the second worst.
Now, again, I did not watch it going based off of all the summation documentation I've gone through. I would probably say Nintendo. I know that they didn't have really any surprises other than 2 games, but who did?
Yeah.
Who
Yeah.
really had surprise? So, I mean, so in that regard, I just think that of coming up stuff, they had the most that my read is. They had the most that is just highly anticipated, as they often do. But
They also had the most that wasn't just, here's a bunch of cinematic trailers.
yes.
Yes.
But so you've got, what other game has had the Breath of the Wild 2 treatment where people were dissecting the trailers after the fact from E3?
Well, I'm sure probably a lot of games did.
Well, there are people that always look through them all, but I don't know of any others that have the same level of fervor behind it as
Probably
I've heard on that.
I've read
one.
some pretty hefty stuff on Jedi.
The Trials of Mana was a surprise, the localization effort. So that was, I mean, the closest thing that anyone else has in my view, and I'd give them the number 2, would be Microsoft the Double Fine announcement was pretty surprising to people.
Yeah.
And is a pretty big deal long term. But gaming wise, well, I thought the Microsoft conference was smart. It wasn't it's not for now. It's like there was Gears. Everything else was almost reminded me of how Sony often was, where it's all out there, all for Scarlet. Not to that same extent, but I mean, okay, no Forza this year is my understanding. That's why they had to play up the Lego. It's just, okay, they're gearing up for the next year. So this is the breath before the exhaling of the new stuff, but that also isn't very exciting. So I would say, I think Nintendo overall resonated with fans more. So that's why I'm going to say they won. But
I think you've got the top two picked right, and I think it's a dice throw. I think the high points of the Microsoft show, like the actual true high points of it, were probably the high points of E3. I think Nintendo did better overall.
Yeah, it's always exciting to talk about the next gen. So Microsoft rolling out and talking a little bit about their next gen was going to be but it wasn't a surprise. Everyone knew they had to be. This was their opportunity because Sony wasn't going to be there to steal any thunder.
It's hard to distinguish it also because it's just, it's going to be better. And
4 times better.
4 times better. Right. So, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it's still, they don't have anything to show for that yet. So it's a tough sell, I think. For me, the way I'm judging it is who showed more stuff that I'm probably going to play.
Okay. That's a fair one.
In that respect, I think Microsoft, just simply because of the sheer volume of stuff that they showed.
That's true. They did show 60 games.
There are probably more things on that list that I'm going to end up playing than what Nintendo showed. But I think it's a very close. Both of those are definitely top 2.
No, it's a good point. And it's something I struggle with on Nintendo because Nintendo, just every year, because their pedigree is the best pedigree because they go back further than anyone else. So whenever they bring up Mario or Luigi or anything, you've got decades of lead time off of anyone else. It's almost unfair, but life isn't fair. So that's kind of my thought. Mike, what would your takeaway be as the winner?
I would go with Nintendo, just because a lot of what they showed is stuff that I will play. I mean, like I said, the remainder of this year is so stacked full of stuff. I mean, Mario Maker before the end of the month, and
that's a lot.
Pokemon at the end of the year. Between that, you've got...
We're already talking about buying 3 of them.
Astral Chain comes out. Daemon X Machina's out like a couple weeks later. I won't play the Fire Emblem, but that's going to be a big one. I mean,
maybe you
there's
should
so
play it.
much
Maybe
stuff.
you'll love it.
Maybe, but...
In terms of, like, what thing did you not expect that interested you? It doesn't have to be a game, but that's kind of where my brain is. What announcement that you even if it was announced ahead of time, that you didn't know about until you learned about it from E3? For me, it's easy. It's Ghostwire.
Me too.
That's the game I had no idea about that I'm most curious to learn more about.
Yeah. That's the, of the caveat of something I didn't know about going ahead. That's what I'm most interested in.
Okay. Eric.
I don't know, probably Collection of Mana.
Okay.
Mike?
For me, it'd probably be that new Mana game. Well, the remake of it.
Oh, okay.
Trials of Mana.
Yeah. Because, I mean, I saw some of their live streaming they did of it, and it looks like a fun action RPG.
Now, here's a question of kind of a spinoff of the things you already knew about. What has your highest interest level after having seen more of it?
For me, I have to admit, I'm much more interested in the Final Fantasy VII remake than I had been, even after seeing the latest trailer, just because they clearly made modifications to the action battle system to make it even more actiony, so it's going to feel like a different game. I like the old battle system too, but it feels different. But I think what I'd name number 1 is I'm a little more hyped now for Doom Eternal than I liked Doom. I liked it a lot more than I thought. Doom and Wolfenstein feel very, very different because it felt like, other than like the second to last level on Wolfenstein 2, for example, Wolfenstein, you could sneak around. There are a lot of pauses. Doom, it's just like you never get to catch your breath. And I had a lot of fun with the first one. I've had a lot of fun watching it speed run.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just really looking forward to getting back into a shooter in a single player approach that is frantic.
Yeah.
And so for that reason, there are a number of things on the Bethesda side that I'm like, I would like to play this and this and this. But that one's definitely going on the list.
I would probably also say, Final Fantasy VII, seeing how that plays, I would really like to play it.
It could be the gateway drug to a Final Fantasy adventure for you.
Maybe. The only numbered game I've played is 11.
That's part of Collection of Mana, Final Fantasy Adventure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But besides that, seeing a lot more footage of Astral Chain, that looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. I love Platinum Games. They make really good games, and since it sounds like Bayonetta 3 is having problems,
Platinum Games can make good games.
Well, yes.
When they don't make terrible games.
Based on Ninja Turtles.
And half a dozen other things.
Well, as long as they don't rush things out.
I'll admit, the one Transformers game was...
Oh yeah, Devastation?
Amazing.
That was fun.
That's the funnest Transformers game I ever played. But, yeah.
Yeah, because like I said, it sounds like Bayonetta 3 they're having problems with, and it's not going to be out for a while. Which...
It's the hair physics.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm disappointed that it's been 2 years since they announced that. We haven't heard anything about it, but it's also, I want them to get it right, because Bayonetta has been the pinnacle of action games for me. And I
think the Bayonettas are the action games I've beaten most recently. I don't play a ton of them, but I enjoyed them both quite a lot.
Eric?
So I'm definitely interested in Final Fantasy VII Remake. I'm more interested in it now that it appears that it's coming to a system I actually own. So there's not going to be a $400 dongle that I have to attach to it.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's still, day one for me is going to be the next Wolfenstein game. That's what I did with the last one. That's what I'm going to do with this one. I'm just going to dive into that for a while.
Yeah, maybe you'll beat this one before me.
Could be.
Maybe not. I don't know when I'm getting it. I think
haven't answered yet.
You have in my mind.
Well, in your mind, what was my answer?
In my mind, your answer was going to be Doom Eternal.
No.
I was close, though. Because
that's number 3. Number 2, like all of you, Final Fantasy VII. I have more interest in that than I had before.
You already had pretty high interest.
My interest was already pretty high.
That's why I didn't have it up as high.
Right, but that it's not... It was high, but now it's I was interested, but I wasn't sure I was going to buy. Now I'm pretty sure I'll buy. But no. I've actually gone from being, it could be interesting, we'll have to see, whatever, to full on the hype train for Cyberpunk.
Okay.
That game now it had some interest, now it has my attention. So.
All right.
It looks cool.
Power of Keanu.
It is the power of Keanu.
It helped. Well.
Oh gosh, what if Keanu had brought the dog?
Oh, what if it is Keanu's dog and he loaned him out just to help?
Just to help. Because that's the kind of guy he is.
He is. It is. It's true. it all fits. It's probably the dog from John Wick 3.
I haven't seen it yet.
Well, nor have I. But if people want to see more of us, you can't because it's a podcast. But if you want to write into us, you can email us, eclecticgamerspodcast@gmail.com. We're also available on facebook.com/eclecticgamerspodcast.
We're on Twitch and Instagram and Twitter as eclectic_gamers.
And we'll be back in 2 weeks with both video games and pinball.
Yep. And John Barron thought we actually like you.
Maybe.
We just kind of feel
we don't
bad
know.
For you.
We don't know you. We don't know you. But anyway, that's it. That's the end of the E3 extravaganza. So goodbye, everyone.
John Barron falls up.